Do you really believe you could just uproot your parents and move them into our home without even consulting me first? I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. Ryan, my husband of 6 years, glanced up from his laptop with a smirk that had become all too familiar and despised. "Oh, Amelia, don't be so dramatic," he replied. "It's just for a while, and besides, it's not like you have a say in this." His words struck me like a slap in the face. This house, a charming 2-story nestled in a quiet suburb, wasn't just any house. It was the home my grandparents had left me. It was the place where I had envisioned raising our son, Lucas, away from the toxicity of Ryan's family. "You do remember that this house is in my name, right?" I retorted, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. Ryan's expression faltered, his smugness giving way to uncertainty. Just as our 2-year-old Lucas toddled into the room, I forced a smile for his sake. He was blissfully unaware of the tension. "I'm not okay with this, Ryan. Your parents have never respected me or our space. Why now?" I struggled to keep my voice steady. Ryan shrugged indifferently, stoking my frustration. "Their family, Amelia. You wouldn't understand." The word family echoed in my mind mockingly. My own family, who ran a small but beloved coffee shop in town, had always been my sanctuary. The doorbell rang, interrupting our standoff. Through the peephole, I saw them. Ryan's parents, suitcases in tow, ready to invade our lives. "Fine, Ryan, let them in. But this isn't over," I hissed, handing Lucas to him before opening the door. "Amelia, darling," cried Ryan's mother, sweeping past me without a second glance. His father followed, a stern man who had barely acknowledged me since our wedding day. As they settled in, making themselves comfortable in my living room, I felt a sense of intrusion that was all too familiar. This was just the beginning, I realized. But as I watched them, something within me shifted. I was done being the compliant daughter-in-law bending to their whims. Retreating to the kitchen, my mind raced. This was my home, my sanctuary, and I was ready to fight for it. The following days turned into a blur of unwelcome changes. Ryan's mother, Elaine, had a way of making her presence known in the most suffocating manner. She rearranged my kitchen, criticized my parenting, and treated our home as if it were her own. "Lucas shouldn't be eating that, Amelia. It's not healthy," Elaine chided one morning as I prepared Lucas's breakfast. Returning a sharp retort, I felt the familiar sting of her judgment. "He's fine, Elaine. It's just cereal," I sighed, shaking my head. "In our house, we believe in a proper diet. You really should learn." Her comments were like needles, each one pricking at my patience. Ryan, as usual, was of no help, buried in his work and oblivious to the growing tension. One evening, as I put Lucas to bed, Elaine barked into his room. "He's still not sleeping through the night. You must be doing something wrong." Her words were a slap in the face, undermining my efforts as a mother. "I'm doing the best I can," I snapped, unable to contain my frustration. "Your best isn't good enough. Maybe if you had a real job and some structure in your life," she retorted. I felt the surge of anger. "This is my house, Elaine. You're a guest here. Don't forget that." Her laugh was cold and dismissive. "Oh dear, Ryan never mentioned how delusional you are. This is his house too, and as his mother, I have every right to be here." The following day, I reached my breaking point. I found Elaine in Lucas's room, going through his drawers. "What do you think you're doing?" I demanded, my voice trembling with anger. "I'm just organizing." "This room is a mess," she replied, not even bothering to look at me. "That's it. I want you out of my house now," I exclaimed, feeling a mix of fury and desperation. Elaine turned to face me, her expression one of mock surprise. "Your house? Oh, sweetie, you're just the wife. This is Ryan's house too, and he wants us here." I stormed out of the room, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. Ryan's betrayal, Elaine's intrusiveness, the way they dismissed my feelings. It was all too much. I had grown tired of being pushed around, weary of my home being invaded by people who had no respect for me. That night, as I lay in bed, a plan began to form in my mind. I was going to take back control of my life, my home, and my son's future. Ryan and his parents had crossed a line, and it was time for them to learn that I wasn't going to be their doormat any longer. The fight was just beginning, and I was ready. A few days later, Ryan dropped a bombshell during an already tense dinner. My parents need to stay with us longer. Their house is undergoing renovations, he said nonchalantly, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I felt my blood boil. Longer, Ryan? We never discussed them staying in the first place, I objected. He shrugged, avoiding my gaze. It's just for a few more weeks. What's the big deal? The big deal is that your mother treats me like an intruder in my own home. I snapped, my frustration reaching its peak. Elaine, overhearing our conversation, chimed in with her usual condescending tone. Amelia, you're overreacting. We're family. You should be more accommodating. Their words echoed in my mind, fueling a growing resolve. I wasn't going to let them walk all over me anymore. It was time to fight back. The next morning, I called my brother Alex, who had always been my confidant. They're taking over my life, Alex. I can't take it anymore. I confessed, choking back tears. Alex's voice was firm and supportive. Amelia, you need to stand up for yourself. Don't let them bully you. It's your house, your rules. His words were the push I needed. I decided to confront Ryan, but this time, I would be prepared. I gathered evidence of Elaine's overbearing behavior, the rearranged kitchen, the disrupted routines, her constant belittling comments. Confrontation day arrived. I waited until Elaine and Ryan were in the living room. We need to talk now, I announced, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. Ryan looked up, surprised by my tone. What's this about, Amelia? He asked. It's about your parents, Ryan. Their constant interference, their disrespect for my boundaries. It ends today, I declared, holding up my list of grievances. Elaine scoffed. This is ridiculous. We're just trying to help. Help by undermining me at every turn, by treating me like I don't matter in my own home. I countered, my anger palpable. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Amelia, they're my parents. We can't just kick them out, he protested. No, Ryan, they're guests in my home, and they've overstayed their welcome. Either they leave, or I do with Lucas. I ultimatumed, my resolve unwavering. The room fell silent, the gravity of my words hanging in the air. I saw the flicker of realization in Ryan's eyes, but it was Elaine who spoke first. You wouldn't dare, she hissed, her facade slipping. Watch me, I retorted, my voice laced with determination. That night, Ryan's parents packed their bags. As they left, Elaine shot me a venomous look. You'll regret this, Amelia, she warned. But as the door closed behind them, I felt the weight lift off my shoulders. It was the first step in reclaiming my life, and I was ready for whatever came next. The days following Elaine and her husband's departure were eerily quiet. Ryan's demeanor had shifted to one of cold detachment, his interactions with me minimal and strained. I found solace in the peace of my reclaimed home and the joyous laughter of Lucas. One evening, as Lucas played with his toys, Ryan announced, I've got to go on a business trip. I'll be gone for a few weeks. His tone was indifferent, as if our strained relationship had taken a backseat to his career. Fine, I replied curtly, barely concealing my relief at the prospect of his absence. After Ryan left, the house felt different, liberating even. I started to revert the changes Elaine had imposed, each alteration feeling like a small victory. But the true turning point came when I stumbled upon a series of emails on Ryan's laptop, which he carelessly left open. They detailed an affair, an ongoing betrayal that cut deeper than any of his mother's snide remarks. Anger, hurt, and a sense of betrayal churned within me. I decided it was time for Ryan to face the consequences of his actions. I began to meticulously plan my next moves, each step calculated to ensure that Ryan and his family paid for their deceit and manipulation. The first step was to secure my financial and legal standing. I contacted a lawyer, explained my situation, and started the proceedings for what was now an inevitable divorce. Next, I turned my attention to the house, the symbol of my grandparents' legacy and my independence. I reached out to a real estate agent. "I want to sell the house quickly and quietly," I told her. She was taken aback but sensed the urgency in my voice. "Are you sure about this, Amelia? This is a big decision," she cautioned. "I've never been more sure of anything." I replied with a resolve born of betrayal and newfound strength. The house went on the market, and within days, offers began to roll in. The thought of Ryan returning to find his precious control stripped away brought a bitter satisfaction. In the midst of this, I reconnected with my family, drawing strength from their support. "We're here for you no matter what," my father assured me as I watched Lucas play, innocent and unaffected by the turmoil. I made a silent vow to protect his happiness at all costs. Ryan's return loomed on the horizon, but I was no longer the woman he had left behind. I was ready to confront him, armed with the truth and a plan to reclaim my life. The day Ryan returned was marked with a tension that hung thick in the air. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind, envisioning every possible outcome. Yet my heart raced as I heard his key turn in the lock. "Amelia, I'm home," Ryan called out, his voice echoing through the now unfamiliar space. I emerged from the kitchen, my posture rigid. "Welcome back, Ryan. We need to talk," I announced. He glanced around, noticing the changes I had made. "What's going on?" "The house looks different," he remarked. I didn't flinch. "I sold the house, Ryan. It's no longer ours." His face contorted with disbelief. "You did what?" "You can't just sell our house without telling me," he protested. "It's my house, Ryan. And after what I discovered, I don't think you have a say anymore." I said my piece, my tone steady but laced with simmering anger. He scoffed, trying to regain his composure. "What are you talking about? The affair, Ryan?" "I know everything," I revealed, watching as his facade crumbled. His attempt at denial was weak and short-lived. "Amelia, it's not what you think," he pleaded. "I think it's exactly what it looks like. You betrayed me, our family," I retorted, the hurt evident in my tone. Ryan's expression shifted from shock to anger. "You're overreacting. We can work through this," he insisted. "There's no we anymore, Ryan. I'll file for divorce," I declared, handing him the papers. The ensuing conversation was a blur of accusations and denials, but I stood my ground. The man I had married was gone, replaced by a stranger fueled by selfish desires. As he stormed out, vowing to fight the divorce, I felt a sense of liberation mixed with apprehension. I had taken the first step towards a new life, but the battle was far from over. In the following weeks, the reality of our situation became public. Ryan's parents, once so imposing and confident, were now caught in the crossfire of their son's indiscretions. Their attempts to contact me were met with silence. I had severed all ties, focusing solely on Lucas and the finalization of the divorce. The day of the court hearing arrived. Ryan looked defeated, the weight of his actions finally dawning on him as the judge granted the divorce and custody of Lucas to me. I felt a sense of justice. Ryan's plea for reconciliation after the hearing fell on deaf ears. "You made your choice, Ryan. Now live with it," I said, turning away from him for the last time. The news of our divorce and Ryan's affair spread, affecting his reputation and relationships. His parents, once so proud and judgmental, were now shunned by those who had once respected them. As I walked out of the courthouse, holding Lucas's hand, I realized that this was not just an end but a new beginning. It was a fresh start for me and my son, free from deceit and manipulation. The future was uncertain, but it was ours to shape. Life after the divorce felt like emerging from a long, dark tunnel into the light. I had regained control, not just of the house, which was now sold, but of my life. Lucas, blissfully unaware of the adult complexities, thrived in the love and stability I provided. My days were busy but fulfilling, with my focus now on rebuilding our lives and managing the coffee shop, which had become my sanctuary. However, the shadow of Ryan and his parents lingered. One day, As I was closing the shop, Ryan appeared, looking disheveled and desperate, a stark contrast to the composed man I had once known. "Amelia, please, I need to talk to you," he pleaded, his eyes searching mine for a hint of the compassion that once existed. I hesitated, the sight of him stirring a mix of emotions. "What do you want, Ryan?" I asked, my voice tinged with embarrassment. "I can't afford the alimony and child support. I lost my job because of the scandal, and my parents, they broke too," he confessed. His words were like a cold splash of reality. "That's not my problem, Ryan. You made your choices, and now you have to face the consequences," I said firmly, closing the chapter of our shared past for good. As I walked away, leaving Ryan standing alone, I felt a sense of closure. The journey had been painful, filled with betrayal and heartache, but it had led me to a place of strength and independence. Life moved on. Lucas grew, his laughter and curiosity filling our home with joy. The coffee shop flourished, becoming a hub of warmth and community. As for me, I found contentment in the simple pleasures, the smell of fresh coffee, the sound of Lucas's giggles, and the support of friends and family. Ryan and his parents became distant memories, their legacy a cautionary tale of the consequences of betrayal and selfishness. My journey had taught me the power of resilience and the importance of standing up for oneself. As I locked the shop that evening, I looked up at the sky, its hues of orange and pink signaling the end of another day. I smiled, holding Lucas's hand tightly. Our future was uncertain, but it was bright. We were moving forward, one step at a time, into a new chapter of our lives.
My name is Amy Clark, and I'm 28 years old. Currently, I work at my father's construction company. I'm getting married soon to George Brown, a college classmate who confessed his feelings to me. We started dating, and now we live together. George works at a company in New York City while I work locally. He commutes by train, and I drive to work. With our wedding just 3 months away, I'm busy with preparations. George usually gets home around 7 p.m., so I handle our meals. On his days off, he helps by cleaning our apartment, especially the bathroom. I love cars, especially driving them. Thanks to my father's company, I even have a crane license. Despite being only 5'1" with a baby face, I often surprise people when they see me operating a crane at a construction site in my work clothes. I find their reactions amusing. One day, I was about to go shopping with my best friend, Megan Flynn. We've been best friends since elementary school and even went to the same college. She's a confidant with whom I can share anything. We planned to visit a newly opened outlet mall in the next state. It was a bit far, but we thought it would be a nice drive. I headed to the convenience store where we decided to meet. When I arrived, Megan was already there. "Sorry to keep you waiting. Have you been here long?" I asked. "No, I just got a coffee." "Want some?" Megan replied. Her coffee looked tasty, so I took her up on the offer. "Thanks. Could you grab one for me too? I'll set the navigation system." Happily obliging, Megan went back into the convenience store. As I set up the car's GPS, I accidentally pressed the history button. "Darn it, this touch panel is so sensitive," I muttered, trying to switch the screen back. Then I noticed a surprising entry in the history. "Hotel Lovely Chateau." "What's this?" I wondered aloud. I'd never searched for such a thing before. This is my car, but George occasionally uses it too. He must have used it. I didn't think much of it and continued setting my destination. Today, Megan and I were heading towards the outlet mall that just opened in the neighboring state. The weather was great, making for a pleasant drive. Near an exit ramp, Megan suddenly pointed out, Look, Lovely Chateau Hotel. What a cheesy name for a hotel these days." Lovely Chateau, the hotel from the search history earlier. While driving, I couldn't take a good look, but there was indeed a big sign saying Lovely Chateau Hotel. We laughed together, but I couldn't help but feel a bit concerned because of its appearance in the search history. After finishing our shopping and dropping Megan home, I returned alone. Once I arrived, I checked the car navigation system again. Lovely Chateau Hotel. As I searched the name, it indeed showed the location near that exit ramp. It was definitely that hotel. It was undeniably one of those types of hotels. I couldn't help but wonder why George had searched for that hotel. Deciding to keep a close eye on George's activities, I installed a dash cam in my car. I discussed the idea of installing a dash cam with George. He agreed, saying, "Why not? A lot of people have them these days. It's good for safety too. But in return, you have to pay for it, Amy. It's your car after all." Although the car is in my name, George also uses it, so he ended up contributing a bit to the cost. The next day after work, I drove straight to the dealership and had a dash cam installed. It came with cameras facing the front and back, and one that recorded the interior of the car. The recording time is 5 hours, after which it overrides previous footage. I also decided to add a GPS logger, which records the vehicle's movements via GPS. After George used the car, I checked the dash cam footage and GPS logger data. I mainly use the car for commuting, so George typically uses it on his days off. He always asks me for permission in advance. One weekend, George approached me. "Can I use the car this Saturday?" "Sure, but where are you going?" I asked. "I'm planning to go to the shopping mall you went to last week. A friend wants to check it out," he replied. "Who's this friend?" "Just a colleague from work. He lives pretty close by." "Is this friend a woman?" "No way. He's a buff guy, even bulkier than me." "All right then, bring me back a souvenir." "Gotcha, Amy. I bet you like something edible." "Yeah, I'd love something sweet." "All right, got it." The weekend came as planned. George left on Saturday and returned in the evening. I had been waiting for him to come back and use the excuse of having left something in the car to retrieve the memory card and the GPS logger. After George went to bed, I checked the data from the GPS logger and the memory card. The GPS logger showed he did go to the shopping mall, but it also revealed that he had taken a detour on the way back, exiting at an interchange. Upon enlarging the location, I saw it was the lovely Chateau Hotel. This seemed completely suspicious. Our wedding is next month, and now this. My fingers trembled as I operated the device. This was already a huge shock, but I composed myself and checked the memory card. I inserted it into the computer and played back the recorded content. Suddenly, a strange woman appeared on the screen, sitting in the passenger seat. She was quite flashy with long hair and seemed pretty. She appeared to be older than me, but her occasional smile was somewhat childish. Unable to think straight, I just stared at the screen, completely shocked. The conversation was also recorded. "Really, you're such a bad boy. You're getting married next month and you're still doing things like this," she laughed. "It's all good. The reason I'm marrying her is because her dad's the boss. He's a construction contractor, but he's loaded." George's voice resonated from the playback. "Oh, but once you're married, doesn't that mean we're over?" "No way. You're the real deal for me. I plan on divorcing her after a year or so. Of course, I'll make it look like she's the bad one, and I'll grab a hefty alimony and her parents' wealth. After that, I'll be with you." "A whole year?" Grace sounded disappointed. "No, we'll continue this relationship in the meantime. I can't bear to be away from you even for a day." "That makes me happy. I love you, George." "I love you too, Grace." I stopped the playback. I couldn't watch any further. George had been unfaithful, cheating, and he was marrying me just to take over my father's company. The proposal, the birthday we spent at the Seaview Hotel, everything was a farce. Why? Tears blurred my view of the computer screen. The next day, I told George I needed to prepare for the wedding and would be going back to my parents' home for a while. George replied without much thought, "Okay." Perhaps he was even pleased that I would be gone. I told my parents, "I feel a bit nervous and I want to stay with you guys for a bit. Please let me cool off." They seemed to think I was having pre-wedding jitters and welcomed me back happily. After a couple of days, I received a message from my best friend, Megan. I felt I could tell Megan the truth. I told Megan everything. She said, "Okay, I'll come over tonight. Let's drink until dawn." Despite her cute face, Megan had some boyish qualities, which I loved about her. I told my parents it was a last-minute bachelorette party. Soon enough, Megan showed up with bags full of drinks and snacks. "Mom, I'm borrowing Amy for the night. It might get a bit loud, so please bear with us," Megan joked as soon as she arrived. "Oh dear, I see you're all chatterboxes, but don't drink too much, okay? I made some stew, so take it and eat it," my mom said, thoughtfully preparing some snacks as well. "Wow, thank you. The wonderful smell earlier was the stew, wasn't it? I'll gratefully accept this. Oh, by the way, may I invite another friend over?" Megan asked. Sure, go ahead and make it a party that Amy will remember. Thank you so much. With that, she called over another friend, Jane. Jane was a high school classmate and, interestingly, a wedding planner at the venue we had booked. She would be overseeing our wedding. She went to the same high school as Megan, and they had met several times, so they were good friends now. The party started with the three of us. I showed the two of them the dash cam footage. Then Megan said, "Oh, I know this person. She's Grace, a junior from our college club. Amy, you wouldn't know her because you weren't in the club, but both George and I were in the club with her." I was astounded by this revelation. Wait, George's junior? I thought she was older than me. She always seemed mature for her age, but who would have thought it was Grace? She's invited to the wedding. Most of the club members will be there, Megan said while poking a radish from the stew. But this situation is frustrating, isn't it? I want to get back at her somehow. Jane, crushing an empty beer can, said, "She's always had a strong sense of justice and even caught a gropper in high school, handing him over to the police." She was enraged as if it were her own matter. Accepting Jane's words of revenge, Megan started talking. "Let's ruin the wedding then. I have a plan," she said, preparing a piece of paper and starting to write something down. "What do you think, Jane? Your cooperation is essential. Please help Amy." "Of course, I'm the planner for this wedding, so I can make anything happen," Jane replied. Her being the planner joining our side certainly boosted the success rate of our plan. "Great, you're reliable." "Hey, both of you, you've had too much to drink," I cautioned. Thus, the plan was formed. I covered the two of them, who had fallen asleep from drinking too much, with blankets and whispered, "Thank you, Meg and Jane." Despite having had too much to drink myself, I felt a bit relieved. The next day, I returned to George's place. Several days after I got home, I put my first plan into action. While watching the recorded video, it was Megan who found it. One day after work, I decided to dine out. I met George at the station, drove him to the diner in my car, and we had a meal. When we got home, I let George out first and returned to the room after parking my car. Then I boldly went to the living room, deeply moved, and said, "George, to prepare something like this for me without even telling me, huh?" George made a strange sound in response to my sudden words. "Isn't this a gift for me? I found it in the car." Saying this, I showed George the paper bag containing a luxury brand bag. The brand name was boldly printed on the paper bag. I was going to clear the rear window of the car because it was dirty. When I tried to pull out the cleaning tools from the floor under the rear seat, this was in there. "Oh, George, you hid it there to surprise me, didn't you?" "Sorta found it." I pretended to be innocent and acted even more delighted. "No, that is," George fumbled his words. You have someone else to send such a thing to." "Don't be silly. I have no one but you, Amy." "Right, you bought it for me, didn't you? How much did this expensive thing cost?" "Around $2,000. "Thanks, honey." "Oh yeah, it's a limited edition, so I think it was $5,000. I thought this would suit Amy, so I bought it. I really intended to surprise you, but, well, it didn't go as planned." "Yes, it seems a bit youthful, but I can still pull it off, right?" "Of course, any bag would look good on you, Amy." "Hey, that doesn't sound like a compliment." Sorry." "Okay, I'll keep it safe. Thanks a lot." When I heard his last sigh, I could hardly hold back my laughter. In the video from that party, I saw George being urged by Grace to buy a luxury bag. He confirmed that he had bought a high-end bag and hid it in the floor of the back of the car. I found it and kept it for myself. During dinner later, George was sighing. Serves him right. A few days later, I got a call from my father. It seems like my old habits have surfaced once again. Believe it or not, I bought a new car. I've always had a thing for cars, and I've driven quite a few over the years. Apparently, on my way home from work, I pulled over at a used car dealership and spotted a gem of a car I used to admire. On a whim, I bought it right then and there. "Dad, didn't Mom get mad at you?" "Yeah, she did, but that's no biggie. Listen to this. It's a discontinued Type R, a car I've always wanted. I thought if I let this one slip, I might never get my hands on it, so I bought it on the spot. I can hardly wait to get it delivered." "Really, Dad? You never think about the consequences. What are you going to do with your current car?" "Oh, I'll give it to you. It's still in great shape and can hold its own against the flimsy cars these days." "That hatchback, right?" I suppose I have grown a bit tired of the car I've been driving." "Just sell that one. How can you enjoy driving such a weak automatic car? That's when it hit me. Okay, got it. I'll do that. Thanks, Dad. Yeah, the new car arrives next week. You can pick it up then. I'll have it cleaned for you. Okay, but this is the last of your indulgences, right, Dad? Don't say that. A man's dreams never end. All right, thanks, Dad. I hung up the phone and couldn't help but grin. And so, my car changed within a few days. Amy, did you change your car? This one looks cooler than the last one. Yeah, my dad bought a new car and gave me his old one. It's cooler than the previous one, isn't it? Yeah, it's cool. Lend it to me this Saturday? Sure, why not? I felt like a fish had taken the bait. Then came Saturday. George, who had left with the car keys, came back immediately. Hey, that car, what's wrong? It won't start. I can't drive it. You can't drive it. Well, what's the matter? You drove it just fine yesterday, didn't you? That's because it's a stick shift. So what's the problem with that? It's just that I only have an automatic license. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. This is not funny. I can't drive now. Why is that a problem? Do you want me to drive for you? No, that's not it. I mean, I don't want to spoil your day off. Really, I don't mind though. No, I'll figure it out. All right then, safe travels. I knew very well he couldn't. Serves him right. The car I got from my father was a stick shift. There was no problem for me since I have a manual license. However, George only had an automatic license. He legally can't drive that car and probably wouldn't know how to drive it anyway. I had already figured out that he's been taking the car on weekly dates. Despite knowing that, I still switched cars. It's my car in my name, and I can do whatever I want with it. Serves him right. Then, with just 1 week to go until our wedding, I received a message and was summoned to a designated location. Hello, my name is Amy, I greeted. Oh, Amy, thank you for coming, the other party responded. Not a problem. So, how did it go? Well, please sit down. We'll discuss everything shortly. With that, I was ushered into a meeting room and sat down. Let's first discuss your request, he began. Yes, I nodded. This was a private investigation agency. I had requested a background check on George. The subject, George Brown, was definitely in the wrong. We have secured photos and videos. Would you like to see them? Yes, please. The investigator pulled out a laptop, inserted a USB drive, and started playing a video. In it, 2 people were walking playfully, arm in arm, before entering the hotel. The date and time of the video were from a Saturday afternoon 2 weeks ago. There were also photos of them kissing, embracing, and more. Thank you. This is enough. I then received the documents and left the office. Honestly, I knew about the affair, but seeing it so blatantly presented was hard. I contacted my friends Megan and Jane and arranged to meet at a pub. I secured a private room, showed them the documents I received earlier, and we started our analysis. Oh man, this is clear-cut evidence, Megan said. This one's quite something too, Jane added. I have lost all sympathy. I'll bring him down completely. With that, I took a big gulp of my beer. Hey Amy, could you lend me these? Jane asked. Huh? What for, Jane? I was already planning to make a slideshow of the bride and groom, so it would be easy to include these. Okay, all that's left is to get ready for the big day. With that, Megan raised her beer mug and gave me a toast. To us. Let's give it our all. I was so touched that everyone was going all out for me that I felt like crying, but I held it back, and so the big day finally arrived. The day of the wedding was hectic, busy to say the least. Upon arriving at the wedding venue, I was immediately ushered into makeup, wardrobe, and other preparations. Regardless of my state of mind, everything moved along as planned. When I saw myself in the mirror donning the white wedding gown, I was brought to tears. Despite this being the very image I had once dreamed of, I never thought I'd be wearing it with this feeling. Noticing my tears, my mother gently said, "Oh dear, the bride shouldn't be crying already," as she wiped my tears away. I'm sorry, Mother, but these weren't tears of joy. The ceremony ended, and the reception began. Just before making my entrance, I caught sight of Jane, who gave me a comforting smile. George was cheerful and smiling right from the start, while I could only manage an awkward smile. The reception proceeded without a hitch as planned. Then came the moment for the bride's farewell letter to her family. The hall darkened and a spotlight fell only on me and my parents at the head table. I was handed a microphone, but instead of reading my letter, I turned to face the crowd and began to speak softly. Everyone here today, thank you very much for joining us. Normally, at this point, I should be saying goodbye to my parents and expressing my gratitude for marrying the man I love, but a stunned silence swept through the crowd as I broke from tradition. Jane, off to the side of the stage, gave me an encouraging thumbs up. The real bride is not me, I declared, causing an immediate stir among the guests. The real bride is Grace Davis, a junior from George's college years. George has admitted that it's not me but her who he truly loves. I have evidence. After speaking, the spotlight shone on one person in the crowd, and there was Grace bathed in light. Lively music started playing, and a slideshow began. Images of them holding hands, kissing, and even entering a hotel were displayed one after another. Then the music stopped, and a video of their conversation played at a loud volume. The hall was in an uproar. What's going on here? George, you owe us an explanation. Amidst the flying shouts, I handed the microphone to a pale-faced George and bowed to his parents before stepping off the stage. Megan and Jane, who had rushed over, practically dragged me away from the venue. Behind me, the situation had become an unmanageable uproar. Still in my dress, I felt a mix of relief and triumph. Jane led me to an unused green room where Megan brought my belongings and clothes. I quickly changed before leaving the wedding venue. Megan drove me home, and I was finally able to catch my breath. We did it, she said. Yeah, we sure did. Despite the commotion, I felt oddly exhilarated after spilling the beans at the wedding. I packed my bags and returned home. My parents scolded me when they got back, but since George was the cause of the issue, it wasn't too severe. My father took care of the aftermath. The wedding was almost over but was called off, so there were issues like returning the gifts. People understood the situation, so everything went smoothly without any significant problems. The one who had a hard time was George. His infidelity got exposed, and the wedding became a mess. As a result, his parents had to bear the entire cost. On top of that, George's boss was present, so the whole company found out about his affair. It was also discovered that George had been contacting Grace during work hours using the office email, leading to his demotion. He didn't lose his job, but the office atmosphere became unbearable, so he soon quit. As for Grace, she didn't end up with George. After causing all that commotion, it broke up. Since the engagement had been broken off after we had exchanged betrothal gifts, I asked George for compensation and other costs. George had used most of his savings on wedding preparations, so his parents had to step in and pay. Lacking any particular skills, George had trouble finding a new full-time job and ended up working part-time to pay back his debts. I also demanded compensation from Grace. With her bad reputation and being disowned by her parents, she had to pay the compensation herself. Without any savings, she borrowed money from shady loan sharks and now works in the nightlife industry to make those payments. It wasn't enough compared to the emotional pain I suffered, but well, it served them right. Thanks to my father's compassion, I was put on leave, and with my newfound free time, I decided to take a trip to Alaska. For some reason, people tend to head north in times like these. Jane had also resigned from the wedding venue, taking responsibility for her part in the commotion. Feeling a bit guilty, I invited her to join me on the trip to Alaska. With the damages I received from George, I covered the expenses. We used a ferry for a round trip as we went by car. On the return ferry, we hit it off with two guys who were bikers. We exchanged contact information and decided to meet up again in New York. The two guys who worked at the same company said they go on a road trip to Alaska on their motorcycles every year. When I got back to New York and told Megan about this, she got upset that I didn't invite her. So, it was decided that we would add one more person and organize a 3-on-3 mixer, including Jane. Even though a lot has happened, I've regained my spirit. Life throws curveballs, but I thought, well, such things happen. And with that, I decided to walk firmly towards the future. On my 40th birthday, which my husband had forgotten, I found myself at a charming French restaurant, courtesy of an invitation from my mother-in-law, Haley. As I savored each bite of my meal, Haley's thoughtful gesture brought a touch of warmth to the otherwise overlooked occasion. Unexpectedly, Caleb, who was supposed to be at work, strode into the restaurant with a woman I didn't recognize. Their demeanor left no doubt. They were a couple. A surge of irritation washed over me as Marry You by Bruno Mars began to play from a distant table. In the midst of the melody, Caleb dropped to one knee, offering the woman a bouquet and a ring, uttering those timeless words, "Will you marry me?" Amidst tears of joy, she accepted, and the surrounding patrons erupted into congratulations and adoration. Exchanging glances with Haley, I forced a smile and with a knife in hand, approached Caleb to offer my congratulations. "What a wonderful proposal. I'm genuinely envious," I remarked, trying to mask my inner turmoil. Caleb, oblivious to my sarcasm, replied, "You never did anything like this for me." Those words finally caught Caleb's attention, and his face paled in realization. "My name is Kinsley," I continued, dropping the charade. "I live with my husband Caleb and my mother-in-law Haley." I reflected on the complexities of our relationships, how Haley, despite the societal stereotypes, had been a pillar of support, while Caleb's attentiveness had waned over the years. Our marriage, once filled with promise, now bore the weight of unspoken truths and neglected celebrations. As days turned into years, Caleb's absence grew more pronounced, his excuses more flimsy. Even on our anniversary, his priorities lay elsewhere, leaving Haley and me to pick up the pieces of our shattered expectations. Yet, amidst the disillusionment, Haley remained steadfast, her unwavering support a beacon of hope in the storm of Caleb's indifference. And though Caleb attempted to mask his guilt with belated gestures of affection, the underlying truth remained unchanged. On my 40th birthday, as Caleb's message flashed across my screen, I couldn't help but feel a pang of resignation, a silent acknowledgement of the distance that had grown between us, and the birthday wishes left unsaid. I got a sinking feeling from the moment I woke up that morning, and true to my instincts, it seemed he had forgotten. "Really? Forgetting not just the anniversary but your wife's birthday too, Kinsley?" Haley's voice was filled with genuine sympathy. "I'm so sorry for my foolish son." "No, Haley, you don't have to apologize. Please don't worry about it," I replied, trying to brush off the disappointment. Haley, however, had a solution. As an apology, though it might not seem like much, I had a hunch this might happen. So I booked a table for two at a French restaurant near the station. Luckily, a cancellation opened up a spot at a good time. I thought if Caleb remembered, I'd let you two go. But since he didn't, how about we go together? It's my treat today, really. Can we? French cuisine and near the station too. That's a popular place, isn't it? I asked, surprised by the offer. You're exaggerating. It's the least I can do to make up for my son's oversight. The French place has a broad clientele and a casual vibe, and there are plenty of affordable options. I'm sorry it's not somewhere fancier. No, I'm thrilled. Thank you so much, I expressed my gratitude. While it's about time for our reservation, shall we head out? Haley suggested, and we left for the restaurant. The atmosphere at the French restaurant was indeed casual, as Haley had described, with a mix of patrons, including some flashy-looking young people. I felt relieved. An overly upscale place would have made me nervous. The young diners seemed to be enjoying themselves, chatting and taking photos with their smartphones. Perhaps they were YouTubers reviewing the restaurant. Once we were seated, Haley handed me a beautifully wrapped, fairly large box. "This is a present from me," she said with a warm smile. "A present?" "Thank you," I exclaimed, surprised. Inside was a brand new bag that I had been eyeing. "Can I really accept something this nice?" "Thank you so much," I expressed my gratitude. "Of course, Kinsley, you've always been so helpful. Please accept it as a token of my appreciation," Haley insisted. I was deeply touched by her gesture and felt blessed to have such a kind mother-in-law. "Well then, shall we start the birthday celebration?" Haley announced, and our dinner began. True to its reputation, every dish served at the popular French restaurant was delicious, nearly making our cheeks fall off. The courses progressed smoothly, and just as we were about to finish the main meat dish, Haley suddenly fell silent and turned pale. "Haley, is something wrong?" I asked, concerned. She pointed tremblingly towards the entrance behind me. "Kinsley, look." Turning around, I couldn't believe my eyes. Caleb, who was supposed to be staying overnight at work, entered dressed in a stylish suit, accompanied by a young woman in a neat dress. Caleb was escorting her arm in arm. I thought I was mistaken, but no matter how many times I glanced back, it was definitely Caleb. I was so shocked that I forgot to breathe for a moment, watching the two of them. Caleb, looking happy, didn't seem to notice us at all. "Kinsley, is this?" Haley trailed off, her expression mirroring my own disbelief. Probably, but should we watch a little longer? It's not confirmed as cheating yet, right? I reasoned, my mind grappling with the surreal scene unfolding before us. Confused, we decided to continue our meal while discreetly keeping an eye on them. Fortunately, Caleb's table was far from ours, and he, being in high spirits, didn't notice us at all. I hoped it was all a misunderstanding, but Caleb and the woman looked unmistakably like a couple from any angle. Was Caleb cheating with her all this while, claiming he was busy with work, facing a crisis at the company, forgetting our anniversary, my birthday? Thinking about it, a deep anger welled up inside me. Suddenly, Caleb formally presented the woman with a bouquet of roses. The atmosphere shifted as Marry You by Bruno Mars started playing in the restaurant. It's a surprise proposal, murmured the surrounding customers, their attention fixed on Caleb and the woman. Even a young YouTuber at the next table started filming them. Listening closely, I could hear Caleb saying something to the woman. "I'm sorry I can't always be by your side, but Ellie, I want to make you happy," he said, offering her an engagement ring. "Will you marry me?" The woman, tearfully accepting the bouquet and ring, replied, "I'm so happy. Yes, I will." At the same time, warm applause and voices saying congratulations filled the air. The song reached its climax, heightening the atmosphere. "I can't believe it. Not just cheating, but proposing," I whispered incredulously, still trying to process what I was witnessing. Glancing at the woman Caleb called Ellie, her face brimming with pure joy upon receiving the proposal had a refined and graceful air that didn't seem to belong to someone who would knowingly get involved with another's husband. Of course, appearances can be deceiving, but still. I looked at Haley, who seemed to be waiting for my reaction. "That foolish son. We can't let this go," she declared, her eyes holding a quiet rage. "Yes, Haley," I affirmed, determination solidifying within me. Taking and using knives from the cutlery box, we held them in one hand as we made our way through the other customers towards Caleb. "Congratulations. What a beautiful proposal." "I'm so envious," I said with the biggest smile, masking the storm of emotions raging inside me. With all the composure I could muster, I thanked Caleb. Still buoyed by his obliviousness, he responded without realizing it was me. "You never did anything like this for me," he remarked. Those words finally pierced his unawareness, and he turned around cautiously. Upon seeing me smiling, his complexion paled. "Kinsley, why are you here? We came here at Haley's invitation, right?" Caleb stammered, seeking confirmation from Haley. I turned back to Haley, maintaining my smile, and she nodded in agreement. "Exactly, but I'm surprised. Who would have thought my son, who was supposed to be staying at the company because of its critical situation, who was already married to Kinsley, would be proposing to another woman? Can you explain what's going on?" I questioned, my tone controlled but firm. Upon noticing the knives we were holding, Caleb's complexion turned even paler, but he managed to stammer out an excuse. It's not what it looks like." "What do you mean, not what it looks like?" "This is, not a proposal or anything. She's a junior at work. I just wanted to thank her because she's always working hard with me. And since it's her birthday today, I was just giving her a present and celebrating." Caleb attempted to explain, his words falling flat in the tense atmosphere. His clumsy excuse only caused more speculation among the onlookers. It clearly looked like a proposal. "What are you trying to hide? He's already married, really?" Even the staff at the restaurant were puzzled by the situation. Thought it was a successful proposal, but then the wife shows up. "Looks like we've stumbled into a real-life drama. So it's emergency live streaming time," commented the YouTuber, starting to film us. Undeterred, I pressed on, focusing on the sapphire ring on the woman's left ring finger. "Interesting. A bouquet of roses and that ring, which obviously looks more expensive than the one you gave me as a birthday present for your junior, huh? Well, by the way, today is my birthday too. Did you remember that?" I interjected, watching as realization dawned on Caleb's face. "What have you been saying since earlier? A junior, a birthday present. But who are these people?" The woman confronting Caleb clearly did not know he was married. If she had known, she wouldn't have failed to recognize me as his wife. I introduced myself to her with a smile. "Nice to meet you. I'm Caleb's wife of 5 years. He's always in your care." I emphasized the word wife particularly strongly. "I am Caleb's mother." I had no idea my son was in a relationship with you while already having a wife, I stated firmly. Haley introduced herself to the woman with a full smile, but the murmur around us grew louder. His wife? So he really was married, proposing to another woman while married? That's the worst. Poor wife. Take back my congratulations. What a real-life drama. Are they shooting a drama or something? More onlookers gathered around, the woman turning pale at our introduction, muttering, "No way." Then, with tears in her eyes, she glared at Caleb. These were tears of a different kind than those of joy she had shed earlier. "What do you mean, Caleb? You never told me you had a wife." "No, it's..." Caleb stumbled over his words, attempting to explain. "You're married and you proposed to me while having a wife. What does that mean? I've always trusted you." The woman's voice trembled with hurt and betrayal. "It's not like that, Ellie. It's not an affair. I was serious. I intended to marry you. That's why before getting married to Ellie, I was planning to divorce Kinsley," Caleb confessed, stopping himself mid-sentence, realizing he had dug his own grave. "So you admit to the affair?" The mistress was also deceived. "Wow, that guy is the worst on so many levels." Criticism towards Caleb from those around us grew even larger. "This is definitely a showdown. Saw something incredible. The stream is hitting an all-time high." The YouTuber was excited, as if he had caught something great on camera. "You were planning to divorce me and remarry, surrounded by 3 women and the focus of everyone in the restaurant," I remarked, incredulous. Caleb was sweating profusely. Suddenly, the woman stood up. In the next moment, she swung her purse full force and smacked Caleb right across the face. The sound of the hit echoed throughout the restaurant, and the previously buzzing crowd fell silent for a moment. Caleb groaned in pain, holding the spot where he was hit. At that moment, thunderous applause erupted from around, even louder than when the proposal was accepted. "Way to go. Serves that loser right." Wow, caught an amazing moment on camera. The woman, without looking back at Caleb, took off the ring, slammed it on the table, and ran out of the restaurant, leaving the bouquet behind as well. Caleb, having been hit with a hard purse, was still groaning in pain. "Are you okay?" I couldn't help but ask, to which Caleb looked at me with tears in his eyes. Then, as if driven by some thought, he stood up and, without caring about the onlookers, began to apologize. "Kinsley, I'm sorry. Please forgive me." "What are you doing?" "I just lost my mind for a moment," Caleb pleaded, the weight of his actions finally dawning on him. "I truly love you," he said, as if those words alone would somehow make me forgive him. "Are you okay?" Caleb's attempt at concern felt hollow, considering everything he had done. What does he mean by "just lost my mind for a moment" after he planned to divorce me and even propose to that woman? The crowd seemed to share my sentiments, mercilessly mocking Caleb's disgrace. "You apologizing like that here is so cringy. This guy is pathetic, after proposing and all. What's he even saying? They really say you're the only one I love after cheating, huh?" People started filming Caleb with their smartphones. When I deliberately spoke in a kind tone, Caleb lifted his face, showing a relieved expression as if he thought he was forgiven. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving such a man. Looking down at Caleb, I said in a cold voice, "You were planning to divorce me, right? As you wish. I'll divorce you, and I'll be seeking alimony for adultery. I won't ask it from her. She seems to be a victim too." Caleb's expression turned from relief to utter despair. "No, please, I won't do it again." "Wait, today's your birthday, right? Then let's celebrate your birthday here, all 3 of us." "That's fine, right? I'll make it up to you. Here, take this." In a desperate attempt, Caleb offered me the bouquet and ring that the woman had left behind. I was beyond angry. I was dumbfounded. Did he really think giving me something he intended for his affair partner would make me happy? Wow, giving your wife something meant for your affair partner? How stupid can this man be? It seemed everyone around us was taken aback. The sapphire ring Caleb was offering naturally was not my birthstone. "Stop this disgrace. Prepare yourself to pay alimony to Kinsley and to that woman you were proposing to as well," Haley scolded Caleb. "Why to Ellie as well? You pretended to be single and deceived that woman. In that case, she has the right to claim compensation for the violation of her chastity rights. Don't you even know that? Furthermore, I'm disowning a scum son like you," Mom declared, her voice firm and resolute. "Mom, you're joking, right? You're abandoning your own son over this after deceiving 2 women. You think over this is going to cut it?" Caleb's pleading tone wavered as he tried to comprehend the gravity of the situation. "I'm not joking. As of today, leave the house and never show your face again. A man like you is no son of mine." Mom's words were final, leaving no room for negotiation. Caleb broke down, crying and huddled on the floor. Haley, who detested dishonesty, could truly not forgive her son's actions. There was no falsehood or hesitation in her declaration of disavowment. The drama seemed endless, and the YouTuber's broadcast was more popular than ever. The emboldened YouTuber approached Caleb with his camera, saying, "Rejected by the mistress, divorced by the wife, and disowned by the parent. You've lost everything, huh? How do you feel now?" Attempting to escape the broadcast, Caleb stood up and tried to flee the restaurant. "Wait, don't run away." Haley grabbed Caleb by the collar, but he fell backwards onto the floor with a thud. The onlookers burst into laughter, finding the situation amusing. Caleb, at a mature age, started crying like a child while lying on the floor. It must have been the pain, humiliation, and shame reaching their limits. Haley and I were troubled. We couldn't cause any more trouble for the restaurant. Surely the restaurant staff must have been thinking, "What a day this has turned out to be." "Stop crying, pay the bill, and let's go home," I commanded. Haley and I lifted the sobbing Caleb, paid the bill, and repeatedly apologized to the restaurant staff and other customers for the inconvenience. A grown man crying in public like a child, leaving his mother and wife to apologize for his actions, was truly pitiful. The YouTuber was the only one who said, No, you gave us something good to watch." "Thank you." On the way to the municipal office in the car, Caleb, thrown into the back seat, cried his eyes out, begging for forgiveness. But both Haley in the passenger seat and I driving ignored him the entire time. After picking up divorce papers at the office, we headed home. Then Haley and I forced a reluctant Caleb to sign the divorce papers, kicked him out of Haley's house along with his belongings, and took away the keys. Caleb banged on the door, yelling, "At least let me stay tonight." But all I replied was, "I thought you were staying at the company tonight." The next morning, after staying at a hotel, when Caleb went to work, it seemed the whole office had learned about Caleb being married while proposing to his mistress, deceiving her, and his disgraceful behavior in the French restaurant. As everyone looked at him disdainfully and whispered behind his back, apparently, the YouTuber's live stream and uploaded video from the previous day quickly became a hot topic. With tweets from those present, photos of Caleb apologizing and falling, clips from the YouTube video, and other angles filmed by other customers circulating online, Caleb's lowest moments in disgrace spread across the internet. The office was abuzz with rumors, and the notorious video had many highlights, from the proposal to the wife's appearance, the mistress hitting him, apologizing, divorce, and disavowment declaration, and the fall, attracting viewers who love satisfying stories, dubbing it real-life satisfying drama, with views skyrocketing. The video, titled "The Man Who Proposed to Another Woman While Having a Wife Loses Everything," even made it to compilation sites. "You're seriously messed up, man. What the heck were you thinking? Your life's over," Caleb was told by a close colleague, turning his face ashen. No wonder his disgrace was floating forever in the sea of the internet. However, Caleb's misfortune didn't end there. He was called into the president's office that very day and was fired. "Caleb, what have you done?" Caleb's affair partner Ellie turned out to be the daughter of a major client CEO. The client CEO found out about the video through rumors among employees, and after watching it, became furious upon discovering his daughter had been deceived. "Our client is furious with our company. I need you to take responsibility and resign," he was told. Caleb couldn't offer any defense. The truth was, he had approached Ellie knowing who she was, hoping to benefit from her status, even aspiring to possibly become the next president through her. There was no room for excuses now. Jobless. Caleb found it impossible to get hired anywhere else, as his disgrace had become toy fodder on the internet, known to every company's HR department. I relentlessly filed for alimony against him, and Ellie, too, filed for damages against Caleb for deceiving her into a relationship under the pretense of being single, violating her right to chastity. "You enjoy dating me too, right? Why are you demanding alimony from me? I've already lost my job." "Give me a break," Caleb pleaded. But such an argument was futile. In their last meeting, Ellie coldly told him, "Every moment I spent happy with you is now a dark history." Under the watchful and intimidating glare of her father, the company president, eventually Caleb had to pay a hefty sum in alimony to both me and Ellie, forcing him to take on debt. He finally got a job at a labor-intensive, understaffed factory known for its harsh conditions, where he worked exhaustingly hard, hiding his face with a mask. Too busy to even come home, Caleb's lie about his work became his reality. In a male-dominated factory and too busy to find another woman, it's unlikely any woman would be interested in Caleb after such a public downfall. Now, Caleb is afraid to even show his face outside, always wearing a mask when he does. Honestly, I never imagined things would turn out this dire, but it was all Caleb's doing. The saying goes, bad news travels fast. But in today's digital age, a digital tattoo remains forever. A frightening thought. Haley apologized to me numerous times, saying, "I'm so sorry my foolish son caused such trouble. I can't believe I raised him to turn out like this. It's not your fault, Haley. Having you on my side was truly reassuring. Thank you." It's not uncommon for some mothers to blame the wife when their son cheats, defending their son by saying it's the wife's fault for being inadequate. I'm grateful Haley wasn't like that. Yet it makes me wonder how Caleb turned out this way, despite being raised by such a respectable mother, I said. "Thank you. Would you mind staying in touch? You're already like family to me, and even if you divorce Caleb, I'd like you to stay here," Haley proposed. "Yes, I'd also prefer that. If you wish so." After such an exchange, we continue to live together and get along like a real family, I agreed. Later, Ellie also came to apologize. Though I didn't know he was married, I'm truly sorry for having an affair with Caleb. I was too shocked at the time to apologize. "I'll also pay the alimony," she said. "Please don't apologize. There's no need for alimony. You're a victim of that man too," Haley added. "That's right, Ellie. You're not to blame. If anyone should apologize, it's me for raising such a foolish son." "I'm sorry," Haley expressed. After our conversation, Ellie insisted on making amends and ended up treating us to coffee. Now, the three of us occasionally get together for tea, having become good friends. "You already had the divorce papers ready? How's that? I scared you, didn't I? Because I'm ready for this at any time. So you better cool down and reflect on what you just said." With that, my husband Lance got up and went into his room. "My name is Alice, a 28-year-old office worker. I married Lance a year ago after meeting him on a blind date. He pursued me, and after a year and a half of dating, we decided to tie the knot. In hindsight, it may have been too soon, but I had always vaguely envisioned getting married and starting a family by the time I was 30, so I accepted his proposal. But I quickly realized that I should have been more cautious about such life-changing decisions. The first red flag came when Lance abruptly announced he was changing jobs right after we got married. "I'm changing jobs," he said, completely out of the blue. "Why so suddenly?" I asked, trying to understand his reasoning. "Because I can't show my full potential there," he replied confidently. I was taken aback, wondering what he meant. He informed me that he had already submitted his resignation and would be leaving his job at the end of the month. Although he was able to secure a new position, the salary was significantly lower than what he had been earning before. At the time, I thought it would be okay since I was also working, but then came the next surprise. Lance started pressuring me to quit my job. If Lance's new salary had been sufficient to cover our living expenses, I might have considered it, but with his recent job change and reduced income, quitting my job would have left us in a precarious financial situation. Despite Lance's assurances that his salary would soon increase, there was no clear timeline for when that would happen. Without my income, we wouldn't be able to save any money, and we'd struggle to cover basic expenses like rent and car maintenance. So I told Lance, "I won't quit my job until your salary goes up." Lance seemed to agree, but he kept asking me to quit, bringing it up repeatedly. Each time, I gave him the same response. A year into our marriage, his salary still hadn't increased, yet he continued to ask, "When are you going to quit?" I was tempted to sarcastically say, "Now," but I couldn't, not yet. If he wanted me to quit so badly, he needed to focus on earning more. Instead, he should concentrate on his work rather than persistently pressuring me. I began to wonder why Lance was so eager for me to quit my job, and eventually, I realized it. Lance wanted me to take care of his mother, Sarah. Whenever we visited my in-laws, Lance would say, "I just want to make things easier for you, Mom." And Sarah would respond, "Thank you, Lance. That's very kind of you." Lance would then glance at me, silently pressuring me to quit my job. He claimed his mother needed care, but the truth was Sarah wasn't ill at all. She was healthy, active, and financially independent, earning enough from her part-time job to enjoy her hobbies and social life. She didn't need my help at all. If I were Sarah, I'd be insulted by the notion that I needed to be taken care of when I was perfectly capable of taking care of myself. But Lance still insists that I should take care of his mother, Sarah. "Oh, if only one of us were home during the day, we could check on Mom every day," Lance blurts out, clearly expecting me to be that person. It's tiresome to keep hearing this, but I finally ask, "Sarah is in perfect health. What exactly do you want me to do?" "There's plenty you could do," Lance responds, almost as if it's obvious. "You could help with the housework, run errands for her. There's always something that needs doing." But Sarah has a part-time job and spends a lot of time socializing with her friends. She's not even home most of the day, I point out. "Even if Mom's not home, you could still do the housework, couldn't you?" he counters. What? Is he serious? "So, you want me to be her housekeeper?" It's becoming increasingly clear that Lance just wants to look good in front of his parents, to appear like the dutiful son. If he cares so much about taking care of them, he should be the one doing the housework. I have no patience for Lance's superficial pride. Naturally, I didn't quit my job, and I certainly didn't start visiting my in-laws daily. I only went over during holidays like New Year's. Thinking back, Lance has always been like this when we visit his parents. He would order me around, telling me to clean up, help Mom, or see if there's anything we need from the store. But I never took the initiative to do these things. When I'd push back, saying, "Don't you know this area better than I do? You should go to the store," he would always reply, "It doesn't count if I do it." What does that even mean? I'm starting to realize that it's not about caring for his parents at all. Lance just wants to boss me around to make himself feel good by appearing like the ideal son. Is he really more concerned with looking good than with actually caring about me? That's how I'm beginning to see him. When I boldly asked him, "Why don't you try helping out or quit your job to take care of your own mother?" Lance looked visibly uncomfortable, his face twisting in disgust. "That's not something I'm supposed to do," he retorted. "I'm giving you these instructions so that my mom will see you as a considerate and useful wife. You should appreciate how kind I am to you." So, in other words, he wants to dump all the inconvenient responsibilities on me while pretending he's doing something extraordinary. Well, I'm not your servant, your slave, or anything else. I certainly don't deserve to be belittled or treated like this in front of my in-laws. If Lance keeps making these unreasonable demands, I won't stay silent. I'll push back. But Lance remained the same, never changing his stance. He kept asking, "When are you going to quit your job?" And every time we visited his parents, he would order me around just like before. I had reached the end of my patience, so I decided it was time to have a serious conversation with my husband. "What do you mean, talk?" he asked, clearly annoyed. "I think we need to talk about our future," I replied. "Huh? What are you even trying to say?" he scoffed. "I'm honestly fed up, Lance. I'm fed up with you constantly asking me when I'm going to quit my job and pressuring me to take care of your mother." "Why are you fed up with that? You're my wife, and it's your duty to take care of your husband's parents," he shot back as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "Don't you think that's a huge burden on me? Isn't it your responsibility as her biological child to help with the housework and care for your own parents?" I asked, trying to make him see reason. "No way," Lance snapped. "It's the wife's duty to do that. Are you really the kind of person who doesn't care about her family? I'm disappointed you'd even say such a thing." "Then let me ask you this," I countered. "How have you been taking care of my parents? If I asked you to take care of them, would you do it?" Lance looked at me blankly. "What are you saying? Why should a husband take care of his wife's parents?" "So that means you haven't been and won't take care of my parents?" I asked, feeling my frustration growing. "The husband's parents and the wife's parents are completely different," he replied, as if that explained everything. "What difference does it make? I don't understand," I said, exasperated. "I can't believe you're this clueless," Lance sneered. "It's like I'm talking to my old boss or something." "What are you trying to say?" I pressed. "I'm saying the husband's parents should always come first. The wife's parents should be your responsibility," he declared, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. What they? So, in Lance's mind, the only family that matters is the one he's biologically related to. I'm so disgusted by you, I snapped. I'm not going to your parents' house anymore. Huh? Why would you do that? Lance asked, clearly taken aback. Enough is enough. I'm tired of this, I retorted, my frustration boiling over. No way. How dare you talk back like that? Lance shot back, his voice rising. My mom was right. What do you mean, your mom was right? I asked, my stomach sinking. She said you're a badly behaved wife, Lance sneered. That's why she gave me this. With that, he pulled a piece of paper out of his bag. It was divorce papers. What? You already had the divorce papers ready? I asked, shocked. Lance looked disturbingly proud of himself. How's that? I scared you, didn't I? I'm ready for this at any time, he said smugly, so you better cool down and reflect on what you just said. With that, Lance got up and went into his room, leaving me standing there in disbelief. No way. Why is Lance so selfish? And that triumphant look on his face, it's as if he thinks these divorce papers are some kind of weapon to make me submit to his will. The fact that Sarah had prepared the divorce papers made everything even clearer. Lance is nothing more than a mama's boy, eager to do whatever Sarah says while trying to boss me around. You've got to be kidding me. There's no way I'm letting Lance control me like this. Does he not realize that by pulling a stunt like this, he's already ended our marriage? His complete lack of common sense only makes me more determined. Lance had already filled out the divorce papers and handed them to me with the witness section signed by Sarah and his friends. It was obvious he was just waiting for me to fall in line. But instead, the next day, after Lance left for work, I filled out the rest of the divorce papers and submitted them to the city office. Just to be safe, I'd also filed a notice of non-acceptance of the marriage certificate, ensuring that there would be no way to reverse this decision. I called my parents to explain the situation because I knew Lance, who had given me the divorce papers as a threat, might try to file the marriage certificate on his own if he found out I had already submitted the divorce papers. My parents were shocked that I had gone through with the divorce so quickly, but were even more outraged by Lance's behavior. They immediately offered to help me move my belongings. I took a paid leave and had my parents come over while Lance was at work. Together, we moved everything out to my parents' house. I decided to stay with them for a while, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of comfort and peace. Looking back, Lance never did any housework. I was the one cooking dinner after a full day at work, cleaning, and doing laundry on my days off. On top of all that, he expected me to take care of his parents, which was simply unreasonable. That night, my phone rang. It was Lance, who must have just returned home. Hello? Hey, where are you right now? Lance demanded. I'm at my parents' house, I replied calmly. What? Why the hell would you go back to your parents' house without my permission? And where's all your stuff? Don't tell me you're staying there overnight. He sounded panicked. I almost laughed. How could he not realize I had taken most of my belongings with me? The fact that he thought I was just staying overnight spoke volumes about his selfishness. I moved out, I stated firmly. I'm not coming back. Huh? What the hell are you talking about? Come back here and make me some food, Lance demanded, his voice rising in frustration. You could prepare it yourself, I said, and without waiting for a response, I hung up the phone. I knew I couldn't have a rational conversation with Lance about the divorce if he was going to be like this, so I decided to block his number and wait for him to come to me. A week later, Lance finally lost his patience and showed up at my parents' house. But he didn't come alone. He brought his parents with him. All three of them looked grim as they entered the living room. We sat facing each other, 3 against 3. How could you do this? Lance started, his voice laced with indignation. I can't believe you would leave for such a long time without my permission. That's because you were treating me like your personal housekeeper, I replied calmly. All I asked was for you to take care of my family. Lance shot back as his parents, especially Sarah, glared at me. Don't twist things to suit your convenience, I countered. You've been forcing me to handle everything you don't want to deal with. I've told you over and over, that's not what I meant. Lance insisted, but his words rang hollow. Sarah jumped in, her voice sharp. What kind of wife are you? Lance has done so much for you. My father, who had been sitting quietly, began to tremble with anger. Sensing that he might lose his temper, I spoke up before things could escalate. Lance told me to quit my job and take care of Sarah. He said it was my duty as his wife, I explained. But when it comes to my family, he pushes all the responsibility onto me alone. In the end, Lance just wants me to obey him, take care of his parents, and let him take credit for it. He even told me that his parents were more important than mine, and that they should always be the priority. I could see the surprise on my father-in-law Robert's face. He looked at Lance, clearly taken aback. It was evident that Robert hadn't heard any of this before. And to top it off, I continued, Lance suddenly pulled out divorce papers, claiming it was Sarah's idea. What? Robert turned to Sarah, his tone questioning. Did you really suggest that to Lance? Sarah hesitated, flustered. Well, it's just that Alice has been so difficult. And did you really say that Alice's parents aren't a priority? Robert pressed. Lance stammered. Well, it's just normal for your own parents to come first, right? Don't be ridiculous, Robert snapped. I came here because I thought you were facing unreasonable hardships, but from what I'm hearing, you're the one at fault. Don't be a coward and try to use your parents' influence to get your way. Lance shrank under his father's rebuke. Robert had said everything I had wanted to say to Lance and more. He then turned to me and my parents, offering a sincere apology. I'm sorry, Alice, he said, his voice full of regret. And to you both as well, he added, nodding to my parents. I am truly sorry for the trouble my foolish son has caused you, Robert said, his voice heavy with regret. I will give him a strict lecture. Robert, you're not at fault here, I replied gently. Please don't blame yourself, and thank you for your kind words. I took a deep breath, but there's one more thing I need to say. Lance, sensing something serious, asked, What do you mean? The divorce papers you gave me, I began. I've already filed them. We're no longer married. What? No. Lance and Sarah both turned pale, shock washing over their faces. How could you do that without my permission? Lance sputtered. You told me I could file them whenever I wanted. I reminded him, my voice steady. You even had Sarah sign the witness section for you. Lance stammered, but that was just to scare you. Robert's face darkened with anger as he turned to his son. So you used it to threaten her. I spoke up, echoing Robert's frustration. Exactly. He thought he could intimidate me. How could you be so foolish? Robert snapped, his patience finally snapping. He struck Lance on the cheek, causing Sarah to gasp in shock. I'm sorry you had to witness that, Robert said, turning back to me, his voice filled with remorse. You were right to divorce this idiot. I apologize on Lance's behalf for ruining your marriage. Robert then grabbed Lance by the collar and demanded, You and Sarah better apologize too. They both muttered apologies before Robert led them out of the house. I felt a wave of relief. Robert had saved my parents from losing their temper, and later he ensured that all of Lance's property went to me in exchange for no alimony. Lance didn't dare defy his father, so I ended up with all our savings and other assets from the marriage. Though I had a higher income and was the one managing the household, Robert's intervention ensured that the division was fair, and I couldn't thank him enough. I later heard that Robert was so disgusted with Sarah's involvement that he divorced her as well. Recently, I ran into a former colleague of Lance's who told me that Lance wasn't good at his job and was constantly reprimanded by his boss. Apparently, Lance had quit out of spite and switched jobs. I hadn't known about this, and it only reinforced my belief that Lance had blamed everyone else for his own shortcomings. He wasn't making much money at his new job, so I'm grateful I left him when I did. I've since rented a cozy one-bedroom apartment and have been living comfortably on my own. Work is going well, and I even got a raise recently. I'm not interested in relationships right now. I'm focused on my career and personal growth. Looking back, it was clear that Lance was more concerned with appearances than with actually improving himself. He could only maintain his dignity at home, but not in the real world. There are so many men like him who think divorce papers can be used as a threat, believing they hold all the power. But that's a huge mistake. I hope anyone in a similar situation finds the strength to break free, just like I did. And I hope Alice finds someone wonderful in the future. Thank you for reading until the end. Please subscribe to our channel and see you in the next video. My name is Megan, and I'm 56 years old. I'm a housewife who occasionally helps out at my daughter Anna's clothing company. My husband Ryan, 58, also manages his own business. Our daughter Anna, 25, has been a daddy's girl since infancy, heavily influenced by her father to start and run her own clothing company with a friend from university. Ryan and Anna share such a close bond that their conversations about work can go on for hours, leaving me on the sidelines. Anna married Stephen, 3 years older, 2 years ago. Despite my reservations when they rushed into marriage after dating for a year, Anna was moved by Stephen's eagerness to become part of our family. Anna values her family deeply, and Stephen's commitment to being a part of our lives touched her profoundly, making her happy to marry him. Witnessing her joy, we happily gave them our blessing, but soon realized our mistake. We discussed with Anna and Stephen and decided to renovate the second floor of our house into a dual residence to accommodate both households, perhaps overly indulgent for our only child. 2 years into their marriage, I noticed Anna seemed less vibrant and had lost weight. "Anna, you don't seem well, and you've lost weight," I remarked concernedly. She brushed it off, attributing it to a diet similar to how she had once fretted about gaining weight right after the wedding. Satisfied with her explanation, I reassured her, "You're not fat, eat well, and take care of yourself." "Thank you, Mom. I'm sorry for worrying you," she replied with her usual smile as she headed to work, waving goodbye. Her cheerful response eased my concerns, but an hour later, I received a call from the hospital informing me that Anna had been injured and was undergoing surgery. I immediately called Ryan, who rushed over from his nearby office, and together we hurried to the hospital. When I arrived, Anna was already in surgery. When I asked my husband about what had happened to Anna, he told me, apparently, she fell from the top of the stairs of the station. The diagnosis is a compression fracture of the lumbar vertebrae and a spinal cord injury. She might end up bedridden. Tears welled up in my eyes as I processed the news. "I regret letting her go to work this morning," I cried. "This morning, Anna looked so thin and lacked energy. Maybe she was really struggling. If only I had stopped her from going to work, this wouldn't have happened." "There's no point in regretting now. Let's pray that the surgery goes well," my husband replied softly. "Okay," I said, beginning to pray. Then my husband said, "I'll call Stephen," and stepped outside the hospital. When he returned, his expression was one of fury. "What's wrong?" I asked. Apparently, Stephen responded to my news with, "Oh really? Well, I'm going on a vacation abroad then. Take care," my husband recounted angrily. When I informed him that Anna might be bedridden due to a severe spinal cord injury, he laughed it off, saying, "Well, my being here won't change anything, will it?" before hanging up. Just then, Anna's business partner and best friend, Amy, rushed to the hospital. Amy, too, looked furious. "It seems Stephen called me," she said. He mentioned Anna's surgery for a spinal cord injury and casually added, "Oh, and she might not be able to work after that. I'm going on a trip abroad, so let me know how Anna's doing." Amy continued, her anger evident. When I questioned him, asking why he was laughing and planning a trip while Anna was in such a serious condition, he callously replied, "It's my first time abroad in a while, so of course I'm happy. Do you think Anna will get better if I go to the hospital? Her mother is there, so she'll be fine," before hanging up. Amy was upset not only by Stephen's indifferent attitude towards Anna, but also shared more distressing news. "Ryan and Megan, please calm down and listen," she said gravely. "It appears Stephen might be dating our part-time worker. She's taken a week off starting today, possibly to go on that trip abroad with him." The revelation sunk us further into despair. When I asked if Stephen was cheating on Anna, it turned out Anna had been confiding in Amy about her suspicions for some time. Apparently, the part-time worker had developed feelings for Stephen when he came to pick up Anna from work. She pursued him, succeeded, and even boasted about it to other part-time workers. When one of them informed Anna, she began to worry deeply. It's possible Anna's distress over this contributed to her fall down the stairs. "I don't think I can ever forgive Stephen," I cried, overwhelmed with emotion. Trying to calm me down, my husband asked, "What are you planning to do? Are you going to confront him without any evidence?" Amy quietly intervened, saying, "There might be evidence." Anna hired a private investigator. She handed me a business card from her case. I placed the card in my wallet, then sat down on the sofa outside the operating room, praying fervently for Anna's safety. When the surgery light turned off, signaling that it was in progress, the tense silence between us three was palpable. A few minutes later, a nurse led us to a consultation room. The surgeon explained that Anna's operation had gone well because it was performed promptly, and her injuries were not severe. With diligent rehabilitation, there was a good chance she could regain her normal life. However, there was also a possibility of lingering numbness in her hands and feet. Grateful for the successful surgery, we thanked the medical team and briefly visited Anna in the ICU before deciding to head home. Amy chose not to answer when Stephen. The next day, someone who was likely calling to check on Anna's condition reached out. When we arrived at the hospital, Anna had awakened in the ICU. Though she couldn't speak, tears streamed down her face as she looked at us. In my heart, I made a vow to Anna. I will take my revenge on that man to the very end. When the doctor informed us that Anna would be moved to a hospital room the following day, my husband insisted, "I'd like her to have a private room, please. Money isn't an issue." His concern and compassion for Anna were evident, and we bid her farewell with the promise to see her the next day, then headed to the private investigator's office. Amy was already there, having just received the results. "Stephen is not just guilty, he's absolutely guilty," she began, pulling out documents to explain. "And there's something even more shocking." She showed us numerous pictures of Stephen and a woman named Amelia together, arm in arm, as well as a photo of them entering a travel agency. It turns out Amelia had told a coworker at her part-time job about going on a trip abroad with Stephen, Amy explained, showing us a photo of their flight tickets bearing both their names. "This could be crucial evidence. We'll keep this as evidence of Stephen's infidelity," the investigator confirmed, advising us to consult a lawyer, which we plan to do later. On the way home, my husband was visibly furious, driving aggressively to drop off Amy before returning. Once home, he grabbed the house deed, declaring angrily, "I don't need this house. I'll sell it. No, I'll demolish it. If this house didn't exist, I wouldn't have to live with that man. I don't need this house." When it came to our daughter, he couldn't contain his emotions. I, too, couldn't bear to live under the same roof as such a man. Reluctantly, I agreed with my husband, though it felt like a waste. Immediately, my husband called the company that had done the renovation. "I truly appreciated the effort you put into building this house," he began, expressing his regret. "However, we decided not to demolish it. I have a daughter as well, so I understand," the company representative reassured him. "Don't worry about it. Let's demolish it right away. When your son-in-law returns and finds the house gone, it will surely shock him," they suggested, and we promptly took action. My husband was driven by his determination for revenge. He skipped going to his own company, focusing instead on arranging our move, finding a new place, visiting the lawyer, and making regular visits to the hospital. Thanks to the support from many people, we successfully completed the move and the demolition of the house. All of Stephen's belongings were taken by his parents when we handed them over, along with evidence of Stephen's infidelity, how he had joyfully gone on a trip with his mistress while our daughter was in the ICU. We explained that we couldn't continue living together. Stephen's parents were deeply apologetic and pleaded with us not to let Anna and Stephen divorce. However, when my husband asked them, "Would you say the same if it were Stephen's sister in my daughter's place?" they fell silent, unable to argue. Both the news of Anna's accident and Stephen's infidelity were shocking revelations to Stephen's parents. After loading their son's belongings into their car, they bowed their heads and implored us, "Please, we beg you not to let them divorce. We'll talk to our son and ask him to change his ways." Seeing our lack of response, they seemed to give up, their shoulders dropping as they left. Later, at our new home, we visited our daughter's hospital room. Despite her frail condition, Anna had started speaking, her determination evident. I began the conversation as I showed Anna the materials from the private investigation agency. "Why did you stay silent knowing about Stephen's infidelity?" I asked her. "I felt I needed to gather evidence before confronting him with divorce in mind," she replied. "Stephen is the type who would dodge and run if confronted about cheating." "Wouldn't you confront Stephen?" she asked me. But then, I realized I wouldn't obtain any evidence. It was clear she had resolved to divorce him. "If only you had asked me not to confront him, I would have endured it. It hurts to think you were worrying about this all by yourself," my husband said, his face showing signs of tears as he held Anna's hand. Then he recounted how he had demolished the house, arranged our move, met with Stephen's parents, and explained the situation before they picked up his belongings. "Maybe my father-in-law is anxious thinking your company will stop doing business with them," he added. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. Even though you renovated our home for me, I can't forgive him for choosing his mistress over me and my situation. I want to divorce him, Anna expressed firmly. All right, we'll tell the lawyer exactly that. Mom and I both support your decision to get a divorce, my husband assured her. Our next house will be a spacious high-rise condo, and your room will be just as large, he promised, gently patting our daughter's head. Finally, Anna managed a smile through her tears. When the hospital staff realized we were there, a doctor came to explain Anna's condition and the prognosis. Since the surgery was performed promptly, she should be able to return to her normal life after rehabilitation, the doctor informed us. While there's a slight possibility of numbness in her hand, it's unlikely, he added. Thank you so much, doctor. That's a relief, isn't it, Anna? You don't need to worry anymore while walking, I reassured her. Anna stunned us with her revelation. I didn't fall down the stairs because I was lost in thought. Someone pushed me. Shocked, we questioned her repeatedly, each time met with her firm insistence that she was telling the truth, her eyes serious. She described catching a glimpse of the culprit, a woman with blonde hair, but couldn't recall her face, only the sensation of being pushed with both hands. Upon hearing this, the doctor said, "It's my duty to report this to the police for investigation." We agreed to let him handle it, seeing how tired Anna looked. We promptly shared the new development with our lawyer after concluding our call. Shortly after Stephen called, I heard from my father, "I'm coming home now. There seems to be a misunderstanding. Let's discuss it. If we clear things up, Anna and I won't need a divorce," he said, laughing as he spoke. "I'm glad I answered the phone," I muttered after hanging up. Later that evening, Stephen called again. This time Ryan answered. "The house is gone. What about my belongings? Going this far over a misunderstanding is ridiculous and utterly foolish. Where are you living now?" Stephen demanded. "Didn't your parents tell you? They took your belongings home," Ryan replied calmly. "What misunderstanding? We have evidence from the investigation agency," Ryan retorted, his tone mocking. Stephen grew frantic at the mention of evidence. "We're just friends. There's no romantic relationship. If we clear up this misunderstanding, tell me where you live." "My father told me not to return until this is resolved, so Anna and I can avoid divorce," he pleaded desperately. Ryan's single word, "impossible," caused Stephen to lose his temper. "You really broke into my house and removed my belongings, didn't you? I'll sue you for trespassing. If you don't want that, tell me your address. Are you ready to lose me, the one married into your family and your only current heir?" Stephen ranted. Amid Stephen's tirade, a woman's voice could be heard from his phone saying, "Enough already. Just break up. You couldn't even have a child with your wife." Hearing this, my husband hurriedly asked, "What about a child?" The call abruptly ended, leaving us puzzled, as we hadn't heard from the hospital doctor that Anna was pregnant. Though concerned about that revelation, we were more frustrated than angry at the thought of Stephen still being involved with that woman. The next day, after visiting our daughter in the hospital, my husband returned to work for the first time in a while. Around noon, Amy arrived at our house accompanied by another woman. The woman with Amy was Emma, a part-timer hired around the same time as Amelia, Stephen's mistress. Emma appeared visibly irritated by how Amelia treated her under the guise of friendship. For instance, whenever Emma went to buy lunch, Amelia would follow and place her own items on the counter, expecting Emma to pay. Despite Emma's complaints, Amelia brushed it off, claiming they were friends. Even at work, Amelia was known to slack off most of the time and leave promptly, avoiding overtime work. When Emma confronted her, Amelia justified her behavior by saying, "We're friends, so you should support my love life," causing further distress for Emma. Amy explained that Emma had come to consult with her about these issues and had some crucial information to share with us. When asked, Emma showed us messages on her smartphone that shocked us to the core. The screenshots revealed flirtatious conversations between Stephen and Amelia, along with incriminating photos of them together. What stunned us the most was Amelia's confession. She admitted to pushing Anna down the stairs. Her motive was chillingly clear. Stephen had allegedly told Amelia that Anna might be pregnant due to a late period. Believing that Anna's pregnancy could bring Stephen back to her, Amelia decided to act. She was pleased that her plan succeeded, leading to Anna's hospitalization and cancellation of the trip. Emma spoke with conviction. "I can't forgive her for trying to steal the CEO's husband and causing such chaos for her own convenience. It's horrifying, so I consulted with our vice CEO, Amy. We were taken aback by Amelia's audacity in sending evidence of the affair to Emma, but relieved to have her confession. I voiced my concern. I haven't heard anything about Anna's miscarriage from the doctor. She's not pregnant, Emma clarified. She's been stressed, which caused her irregular periods because of Stephen. Upon hearing this, my husband and I sighed in relief. So she wasn't pregnant after all. Armed with screenshots of Amelia's confession and pictures of her and Stephen together, my husband consulted a lawyer. The lawyer advised us to file a police report. The next day, we submitted printed screenshots as evidence. Throughout this, Stephen continued to call us daily, making veiled threats like, "I'll sue you for trespassing, and you'll be in trouble if I don't become the heir." Each time, we hung up without responding. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. Following our lawyer's instructions, we summoned Stephen and Amelia to a conference room at my husband's company. "Come with your friend. We want to discuss this misunderstanding," my husband stated firmly. Stephen responded, "Okay, but when you realize it's a misunderstanding, you owe me and my friend an apology. And you'll compensate my parents too." Seeing him, I regretted more than ever letting my daughter marry him. We waited in the conference room with our lawyer. Stephen and Amelia arrived half an hour late. Spotting our lawyer, they seemed surprised and awkwardly laughed. "Why did you bring a lawyer? Let's just talk as a family." Following our lawyer's instruction, we asked them to take their seats. Stephen and Amelia sat down, visibly agitated. First of all, Stephen began, "Amelia is just a friend. I have no romantic feelings for her," Stephen insisted, while Amelia nodded beside him. Our lawyer pressed further, showing them a picture of Stephen with another woman named Emily, his arm around her. Amelia's expression shifted to anger. "Wait a minute, are you saying you have another woman? What's your relationship with her? Weren't you going to marry me once you took over the company?" she shouted at Stephen. Stephen attempted to calm her. "I don't know this woman, she's just a friend. Please calm down." But Amelia's fury only grew. "You told me your wife was pregnant, so I had to take drastic steps for our future," she accused, as Stephen repeated pleas for calm. Our lawyer interjected, "Emily has already admitted her relationship with Stephen. She's returned home and cut off contact with him." Upon hearing this, Stephen faltered. He covered his mouth, his face turning pale. Turning to Amelia, our lawyer continued, "We have enough evidence of your relationship with Stephen, as well as evidence of the crime you confessed to committing against Anna." Amelia, now frantic, stood up. "I admit to the affair, but Stephen pressured me into the staircase incident because his wife was suspicious and we couldn't go on vacation. He said she was pregnant. I apologize, I'll pay compensation, I'll end things with Stephen. Just don't involve the police," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Stephen erupted, "I never told you to do anything like that. You've ruined everything. It's over between us. You deserve to be arrested." Our lawyer addressed Stephen firmly. "We will proceed with filing for divorce between you and Anna and seek compensation. If you contest, we'll see you in court." Stephen initially resisted, but upon mention of court, he relented. Under our lawyer's guidance, he signed the divorce papers, fearing the repercussions on his career and public reputation. He agreed to pay $56,000 in compensation, a substantial sum considering Anna's temporary inability to work as CEO during her recovery. Amelia was later arrested, and she promptly paid the compensation by selling her parents' house and land. Rumors of Stephen's infidelity and involvement in Anna's injuries spread at his workplace, stalling his career advancement. His father's company, tied to ours, lost business and eventually went bankrupt. Disowned by his father, Stephen resigned from his job and scraped together the compensation money through severance pay and loans. There were rumors of Stephen collecting aluminum cans to make ends meet, a stark contrast to his previous life. A year later, Anna returned to work after intensive rehabilitation, focusing on her health and career. "I don't need a boyfriend for a while," she declared, emphasizing her dedication. Emma, who had assisted us, joined Anna and Amy as a regular employee at their company. My husband continued working vigorously, driven by his motto, "Active for life," determined not to be outdone by our daughter's thriving business. In the end, the saga of revenge came at a high cost, but we remained resolved to support our daughter's company with all our efforts.
"You quit your job. Does that mean you're leaving me?" "No, that's not what I meant. Becoming independent is just a career shift for me. It doesn't mean there's no income. You're going independent. Are you serious? That won't work. Well, if you feel that way, maybe it's time for us to go our separate ways. Wait, are you talking about divorce? I can't support someone who isn't working. My name is Lisa. I'm 40 years old, balancing work and raising my child. I took time off when my daughter was born, but when she started elementary school, I was fortunate to be rehired by my previous employer. I primarily work from home now. With my daughter in 6th grade and my life more settled, I believe it's time for me to explore new opportunities at work. My husband is 40 just like me. When we first got married, he was a salesman with a promising future. Confident in his abilities, he switched jobs 3 years ago, hoping for a better salary. However, the outcome was the exact opposite. His new salary is lower, his benefits are worse, and he now works overtime every day. My family runs a farm in the countryside. Since she was young, my daughter has enjoyed spending time there, helping out in the fields whenever she visits. My parents love working alongside their grandchildren and have always been dedicated to involving her in farm work. Despite this, my husband despises the countryside and refuses to visit my parents' house with me for any reason. I'm heading back to my parents' house for a week. What about you? I've got work, so I won't be joining you. I'm tied up with a project that's nearing completion. Got it. I always knew my husband wouldn't be coming along, but it's important to ask anyway. Even if you're aware he won't be there, it's part of being a family. When my daughter and I are away at my parents' house, he calls me every day. While it's fine if he's calling out of concern or affection, his calls often revolve around trivial matters. What should I have for dinner today? How about the leftovers in the fridge? I'm not really in the mood for that. Then why not cook something yourself? Why should I? I'm exhausted. I know you've had a long day. By the way, where are my change of clothes? They're folded in your usual drawer. Whoa, what's with these corners folded like this? Well, if you're not going to take care of it, then you're on your own. My husband has been like this the entire time I've been at my parents' house. I mostly ignored his calls and messages. He's never happy when my daughter and I visit my parents. Every time we return home, the place is a mess with garbage everywhere. Mom, when we visit Grandpa's house, he always leaves the room in such a state. Yeah, he does. Why do you always end up cleaning up after him? Mom, he's the one making the mess, right? Shouldn't he clean up after himself? Absolutely. My daughter is just as frustrated with my husband's attitude as I am. Even though we enjoy our time at Grandpa's house, I dread coming home to a messy place. Yeah, Mom doesn't like it either. Hey, can we leave Grandpa's house soon? I feel bad for Grandpa and Grandma. They work so hard in the fields. I wish I could help them more. Thank you. Grandpa and Grandma would really appreciate that. My daughter's kindness is a stark contrast to my husband's selfishness. I'm growing increasingly tired of his childish behavior. After a long vacation, I returned to the office to discuss my health, annual assessments, and future goals. My daughter's suggestions inspired me to present a proposal to the president. Why don't we use our program to integrate more IT into agriculture? Well, that's a concept other companies have been exploring for quite some time. That's true. It's a field that's been established abroad for decades. Japanese companies have been developing new agricultural business models for the past 10 years. With the data and patterns we have, I believe we can make it work. We already have potential farmer partners who are interested in this operational model. I'd understand. In the meantime, could you submit a proposal? Sure, I'll get on it. I immediately reached out to my parents and they agreed without hesitation. My daughter's comment about her grandparents working hard and her desire to help sparked a great business opportunity. A month after submitting the proposal, my project was approved. I threw myself into the work, driven by the hope that if the project succeeded, it could benefit my aging parents. However, my husband was relentless in trying to undermine my enthusiasm. You've been acting kind of flirtatiously lately. It bothers me. Oh, really? Are you getting carried away? I'm not sure. Your face just brings me down. If it's affecting your mood, then you don't have to look at me. I understand what my husband is doing. He's trying to make me feel bad. I already feel pretty down, just as he wants. But I don't let it show on my face. I keep my tone neutral and treat him normally. He's always been this way. Whenever I start to get excited or enjoy myself, he seems determined to bring me down. I'm used to it now, so I don't let it affect me too much, but it still doesn't sit well with him. Ha, I can't just avoid you. We live together. That's not true. You can just stay in your room. I'm perfectly capable of handling my job and taking care of my daughter on my own. If you took better care of yourself, we might avoid these confrontations. That's not what I meant. My husband is yelling at me and it's really upsetting. I want to get a divorce, but I'm unsure how to explain it to my daughter. I'm struggling to make a decision, and since I don't react to his outbursts, he's now criticizing the farmers. Maybe your difficulty in understanding his underlying intentions is because you grew up on a farm. He really is acting like a child. I try to stay calm, but his comments about my parents really get to me. This time though, I'm the one maintaining my composure. For the first time, a project I proposed has been accepted and I'm so motivated that my husband's irritation doesn't bother me much. So you're saying you can't do your job because you grew up in the city? That's crossing the line. That's exactly what I'm going to tell you. Stop being a jerk. No, you were the one who started this. We've been arguing a lot lately. He used to be a nice guy, but he changed just before he switched jobs. My husband and I were already struggling to get along, but my work was going great. A few months later, I decided to resign from the company after discussing it with them and citing a licensing agreement. I chose to become independent. I had informed my husband about this decision in advance, but he clearly didn't pay attention. As soon as I resigned, he told me he wanted a divorce. You quit your job. Does that mean you expect me to support you? No, that's not it. Becoming independent is just like changing careers. It doesn't mean there won't be any income. You're going independent? Are you serious? That's not going to work. Well, if you feel that way, maybe you should go independent for me too. Wait, are you talking about divorce? I'm not going to support someone who isn't working. I was taken aback by his sudden mention of divorce. It left me speechless because my thoughts were focused on our daughter. Mom, get a divorce. My daughter, who should have been asleep, burst into the living room. My husband looked momentarily taken aback. I'm only making a clear choice. It's your fault for saying you're quitting your job. My husband, standing in front of our daughter, is trying to shift the blame. But my daughter only sees me, and my husband's behavior has been out of touch from the start. Are you sure about this? Yes, I want you to get a divorce. I don't like him. He always says hurtful things to you. Mom, don't say you're staying together just for me. I want you to get a divorce right now. All right, if that's what you want, let's go live with Grandpa and Grandma. Thank you. But you'll need to switch schools. Are you okay with that? Yeah, I'm totally fine with it. Great. Let's go. You don't have to talk to Dad anymore, right? Yeah, I suppose. Well, I guess that's it for now. We can work out the details later. Hey. Oh God, what now? It's not my fault, you know. All right, we'll discuss this later. I just hope you can build a future we won't regret. Huh. I'm not doing that. I'll be free once you're out of my life. I turned away from my husband, who was still shouting, and left the house with my daughter. At my parents' house, my daughter seemed at ease. Despite my concerns, she appeared to be enjoying her new school since the start of the semester. Once she was settled, my husband and I had another conversation about the divorce. He insisted he wouldn't pay alimony, claiming it was my fault. Normally, if I were at fault, he'd be the one seeking alimony. Yet since he wasn't asking for any, I didn't understand why he felt I was liable. I will be requesting proper alimony. Huh. You think you can do that because you believe I'm at fault? You. I knew it. You're just unemployed and lacking any real understanding. How can I be at fault? I haven't done anything wrong. True, you haven't done anything about the house or our daughter. I was shouldering all the responsibilities while you were content, but you're always so accommodating to Mary, handling everything for her. What? I placed the evidence of my husband's infidelity on the table. What's this? How did you get this? Did you steal my phone? That's rude. Excuse me. You're the rude one. You're a married man. What do you think you're doing? And I didn't gather this evidence. You had the means to hire a detective. It's about our daughter. Ha! She's the one who collected all this. After we separated, my daughter told me that you used to walk arm in arm with a woman she didn't recognize. She used my laptop to sync your phone and showed me the data. She even encouraged me to divorce you, saying she hates you. She's upset that you're her father. So I can divorce you without a second thought. I can't believe you allowed your daughter to see these pictures of you. You're such a poor father. I have all the evidence, so there's no point in making excuses. Also, your new job is a result of yet another affair, and you mentioned you're paying alimony to that affair partner's husband. You even lied about your salary being reduced, and I've looked into everything. After hearing this, my husband, who had been so obstinate, finally nodded in acknowledgement. I'm proud of our talented daughter. I'd be thrilled if she takes over my company in the future, if that's what she wants. Sorry. Are you playing devil's advocate? Let's not get divorced after all. You wouldn't want to be unemployed, would you? No, I'm not changing my mind. Besides, you're the one in trouble. If you refuse to pay alimony and child support in a lump sum, I'll go to your company and tell them everything. Hey, if you do that, I'll lose my job. Maybe it's time you start looking for a new one then. You're going to regret this for the rest of your life. My husband stopped and asked for my help, but I merely smiled and dismissed him. When he hesitated to sign the divorce papers, I hired a lawyer and let them handle everything. Within less than 2 weeks, our divorce was finalized. My ex didn't want to incur any more costs. With 2 alimony cases and child support on top, a lawyer was pushing him to the brink of financial ruin. Eventually, he paid all the alimony and child support in one lump sum. Unable to cover it with his savings, he informed me that he was now in debt. He tried desperately to make me feel sorry for him, but I chose to ignore him. When I also filed a claim for alimony against the cheating partner, my ex-husband and his partner ended up in a huge argument and broke up. The partner was livid about having to pay alimony, but ultimately, she complied. She borrowed money from her parents to cover the payments and then returned to the countryside to help with the family business, where her parents could keep a close watch on her. Meanwhile, my ex-husband could no longer afford the rent on his apartment and had to move into a rundown place. My business has flourished and I'm enjoying every day. While things didn't work out with my husband, I'm grateful that what I've learned has been beneficial for my family's farming business. My parents are thrilled with the new IT system, which has greatly reduced their work hours and eased their workload. This entire transformation was made possible thanks to my daughter, though there was some initial resistance. Allowing her to have a smartphone and tablet in elementary school has proven to be a wise decision. She seems to be making good use of them. While my daughter still loves spending time in the fields, she's developing an interest in my work as well. Recently, she's been asking me to teach her how to build a website. I'm excited about her future. Although my 12-year-old daughter is exceptional, it saddens me that she has been exposed to the less admirable side of her father. I hope the adults around her will provide the care and support she needs. Your mother is right. I look forward to your future.
Nobody cares about your business. My plan comes first before anything else. My daughter's birthday parties are the biggest priority. If you don't get her gifts right away, I'll ruin your daughter's funeral. A deafening yell from my mother-in-law made me regret picking up her call, especially at a funeral. I was shaking with anger. My name is Amy. I'm a housewife in my mid-40s with a high school-aged daughter. You might think a high school girl would be fussy about makeup and fashion, rejecting clothes her mother buys, but my daughter is different. She gets along with me and gladly wears the clothes I pick out. She's a considerate and kind girl, but she's not like most girls her age. She can't lead a normal life, putting on makeup, dressing up, falling in love, and enjoying her student life. It's tough. Are you okay? How's your fever? It's a bit down. Want to eat something? I'm not hungry. I don't want anything. You shouldn't say that. If you don't eat, you won't have any energy. I'll prepare some soup for you, okay? As I worried over my bedridden daughter, I continued with the household chores. My daughter, Hannah, is sickly and suffers from a weak constitution. There's a medical term for her condition, but I won't go into details here. A week after Hannah was born, her umbilical cord fell off and blood gushed out. We rushed her to the hospital where they diagnosed her with a certain disease. Since then, despite numerous treatments, she has never fully recovered and lives with the disease. Regular hospital visits are a must, and due to the side effects of her medication, her health often deteriorates. During severe periods, she has to be hospitalized. Since becoming a high school student, she's hardly been able to attend school. By any standard, it's unlikely she'll graduate at this rate. Nevertheless, Hannah goes to school on days she's well. On those days, she tries to be like a normal high school girl, fussing over her hairstyle, which brings a smile to my face. She doesn't wear makeup because it's against school rules. A diligent and good girl, even when suffering from illness, she strives to live with a cheerful spirit. I am proud to have a daughter like her. My husband is equally smitten with our daughter. If she becomes bedridden, he's quick to say, "I'll take the day off work and look after her." Of course, I have to give him a little push and send him off to work. We need him to keep bringing home the bacon, or we'll fall into a financial crisis. When I assure him that I'll take good care of Hannah, he reluctantly heads off to work. That's our everyday life. We're worried about our daughter, but our family is in good spirits, and I have a strong bond with my husband. I was blessed, living a peaceful life, but there was one person who wasn't pleased with our situation. Hannah is running a fever again. It's just pitiful. I wonder who she takes after. Mother-in-law, what brings you here today? What's the matter? Can't a mother visit her son's home? You're such a cold-hearted daughter-in-law. A frail granddaughter and a demon for a daughter-in-law. Lord, if I could only have the post-retirement years that I dreamed of. Yes, the person who is unhappy with our household is my mother-in-law. She frequently visits our home, which is just 3 bus stops away, and constantly spews her classic passive-aggressive remarks. She's enjoyed tormenting me ever since we got married. Now she's also unpleasant towards Hannah. Doesn't she find her own granddaughter adorable? My son never ran a fever this frequently. Amy, isn't this something from your side of the family? Mother-in-law, as I've explained countless times, Hannah's illness isn't hereditary. No, I'm sure your family's genes are playing a role here. I always knew taking you into our family was a bad idea. My mother-in-law seems fixated on belittling my family lineage, and her snide remarks never end. Eventually, I've grown accustomed to dealing with her, realizing that arguing is a waste of time. I let out a sigh, grabbed the freshly made soup, and headed to Hannah's room. Hey, I'm not finished talking yet. I could hear her yelling from behind, but I just ignored her. Once I entered Hannah's room, her voice became faint. Grandma came over again, didn't she? Right, same old mother-in-law bashing. No helping it, I guess. Grandma's just... My daughter Hannah let out a raised smile, but I know she understands. There's no way she can't hear my mother-in-law's loud voice, yet Hannah never speaks ill of her grandmother. On the contrary, she'll make a guilty face and say, "I'm sorry, Mom. It's because of me." Hannah, it's not your fault at all. She's not at fault in the slightest, yet Hannah apologizes to me. I don't want her to feel this way, so my husband and I always greet her with smiles. We create a cheerful atmosphere, not wanting her to dwell on negative thoughts, but my mother-in-law destroys that atmosphere in an instant. As I hugged Hannah tightly, I bit my lip, feeling her thin body so unlike a healthy high school girl. Feeling Hannah's warmth, I felt a sense of relief, but also realized that I must start keeping a distance from my mother-in-law. My days are occupied with taking care of my frail daughter, and on the rare days she goes to school, I worry non-stop. I took back our house keys from my meddling mother-in-law. Days were filled with endless quarrels with her, my husband working hard for our beloved family, and my laughing daughter Hannah. Despite everything, they were peaceful days, and I thought they would last forever. I don't know why I believed that. There's no such thing as forever. Everything that begins must also end. On a rainy summer day, Hannah fell ill amidst the unrelenting heat. The doctor looked grim as he reviewed the test results. I held my trembling daughter in my arms, and then she was admitted to the hospital. Summer vacation had begun, and by the time it ended, Hannah was still in the hospital, still receiving treatment. Those were incredibly difficult and painful days. Hannah looked like she was suffering so much. Even so, I believed she would recover. She would surely get better. More than anything, Hannah herself believed that. But Hannah passed away. Dad, Mom, I love you. Those were her last words before she embarked on her far-off journey. Looking up at the dreary sky as the autumn rain continued to pour, I was in tears. The tears wouldn't stop. It was raining during the funeral too. It felt like the sky was crying for me as I was too busy to even shed tears. The tears I shed on the day Hannah passed away have now dried up. I was that busy. My husband, too, had taken time off work and was rushing around. I was swamped with contacting relatives and Hannah's school. That's the only way I could cope. I couldn't stand it unless I was busy. The loss I felt from losing Hannah was that immense. Many people came to the funeral in the rain. Even though she didn't go to school much, many of her friends came to pay their respects, and they all cried. There were kids who screamed and cried out in disbelief. Some broke down, crying, saying they would love her forever. Watching them, I felt a perverse sense of happiness. Everyone loved Hannah. Knowing that she was a child who was so loved, I couldn't help but feel happy. Many people spoke to me, and they all praised Hannah. My parents hugged me as they cried, and I couldn't help but break down in tears. It was then that my phone, which was in the pocket of my black funeral attire, vibrated. I had my phone on me in case someone needed directions to the funeral, so I quickly stepped away from my seat and looked at the screen. The caller ID showed it was my mother-in-law. My father-in-law had already passed away, and although I had contacted my mother-in-law, she hadn't come to the hospital during Hannah's final moments, claiming it was impossible because she was far away. She said she couldn't attend the funeral today either because she had something important to do. But I wondered if she might have changed her mind and wanted to say goodbye to her grandchild. So I answered the phone, but I instantly regretted it. "Amy, what on earth are you doing?" she yelled at me. "Huh? I'm at Hannah's funeral. Stop joking around and get over here right now to your place." "That's impossible. What are you talking about?" "Right back at you. I told you I had something important to do today, didn't I? Hurry back and help me out. I don't have anything more important than my daughter's funeral. Nobody cares about your business. My plan comes first before anything else." What on earth is she talking about? As a mother, my daughter's funeral is the most important thing right now, and it's wrong of my mother-in-law not to even care about her grandchild's funeral. My mother-in-law had been adamant about not going to the funeral, no matter what my husband said. "Why do I have to help you with your stuff? If it's more important than your granddaughter's funeral, why don't you handle it yourself? You're my daughter-in-law. You're supposed to help me." "I don't understand what you mean. I'm celebrating my super precious daughter's birthday. There's nothing more important than this in the world." "Excuse me." I couldn't help but take an extraordinarily long time to respond. "What did you just say?" "My daughter is coming home after such a long time, and coincidentally, it's her birthday too. We have to celebrate it grandly, don't we? Like I care. So, I need to thoroughly clean my house and prepare a huge feast. Come over here fast." "But as I said, I'm in the middle of a funeral right now. I don't care about that. My daughter is more important than my granddaughter. Also, bring a present with a budget of over $500. Hurry up. If you don't bring any gift right now, I'll ruin your funeral." Click. I hung up on her. I couldn't stand to listen any longer. If I had to hear any more from my mother-in-law, I felt like I'd march over there with a baseball bat. Just how selfish can she be? Prioritizing her daughter over her granddaughter at a time like this? I'm not saying they should be compared, but to say her daughter's birthday is more important than Hannah's funeral. She must be kidding. I told my husband, Mike, everything that had happened, and we decided to ignore her. Mike tried to contact Sandy, but either she was still on the plane or we just couldn't reach her. Pulling myself together and regaining my composure, I returned to shedding tears at my daughter's funeral. The day after the funeral, Sandy visited our place. She had read Mike's email and flew here right away. She thought it would be faster to come home than to try to get in touch while traveling from where she lives, but it took her a long time to get here. In the end, she didn't make it to the funeral. Bowing her head in apology after paying her respects at the altar, she shared various stories with us. Stories I had never heard before about my daughter and Sandy, whom we hardly ever got a chance to see. Listening to them, I found myself reminiscing about my daughter when she was little, and once again, I started to cry. In the end, my mother-in-law didn't even bother to come to pay her respects. My sister-in-law, Sandy, deeply bowed her head and apologized for this. "I'll do something about my mom," she said before leaving, but I wondered what she meant by that. A few days later, the reality that my daughter was gone still hadn't sunk in, and I found myself in her room, holding on to the memories she left behind. I gently stroked her study desk. The room, untouched since her death, was filled with so many memories of her. Just as I felt like I was about to cry again, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Startled, I quickly wiped away my tears and looked at the monitor. To my surprise, it was my mother-in-law, the same woman who had injured both my husband and me with her inappropriate remarks on the day of the funeral. She hadn't come to pay her respects and hadn't shown up in the days since. What does she want now? I had no intention of opening the door, so I responded via the intercom. "What can I do for you, mother-in-law?" "Oh, Amy, please help me," she said. Her unexpected plea for help left me puzzled. "I might end up joining my granddaughter if this keeps up. Please help me," she exclaimed, saying something unthinkable. Wondering what was going on, I reluctantly opened the front door and my mother-in-law fell in. "What's going on?" "Help me, my daughter, my daughter." While I was trying to understand what she was saying, a figure suddenly came into view. Well, here you are, Mom," the figure said. It was Sandy. She had a smiling face, but it gave off a silent pressure. "She's here, huh? What? Seeing the pale face of my mother-in-law, who screamed at the sight of Sandy, I was completely stunned. What on earth is happening? "Oh, come on, don't say things like she's here. It's rude. See, Mom, it's your cute daughter, right?" No, not cute at all. What in the world is going on? Just the other day, she was talking about her daughter's birthday being more important than my daughter's funeral. What happened in just a matter of a few days? While I stood there bewildered, Sandy handed something to our mother-in-law. "Don't worry, the next part is much easier. Here, you just need to put this on your head and go about your life." Saying this, Sandy put it on my mother-in-law's head. She shook it off and hid behind me. "I'm not wearing that." "Why not? People will think I'm a weirdo if I walk around with that on my head." Wondering what on earth it was, I looked at the object that had fallen to the floor. It was a mask, not the kind you would see at a fair, but something else. A mask that you might see worn by a tribe living deep in Africa during some strange ritual, the kind of thing a shaman might like. And why does Sandy have something like this? Why put it on my mother-in-law's head? "This mask is used for fortune-telling," Sandy explained. "Where I live," Sandy explained in response to my question, "this mask has an interesting history. It's a great craft work that has been passed down since ancient times." I was stunned. "Well, yeah, it looks like it. So you're going to put this mask on top of my mother-in-law's head, not on her face?" "Right, if it's on her face, she wouldn't be able to see anything. This isn't an ordinary mask with holes for the eyes. If it did have holes, I wouldn't mind letting her wear it on her face." "And what happens when she puts it on?" "Oh, you didn't know? This mask has a demon-repelling effect." As if I would know about such an effect. A demon repellent, exactly, no matter how hard you think about it. She's clearly possessed by a demon, right? Sandy pointed at my mother-in-law. Her own daughter saying such a thing. So this is what she meant by, "I'll do something about my mom." If she wears this for a few days, I think she'll definitely become a normal human being with morals. I've been trying several methods for the past few days. A different method. I had her wear a necklace of garlic and run around the neighborhood. Isn't that for vampires, not demons? Or are vampires also demons? I'm not quite sure, but oh well. But what's with the running? Is that why my mother-in-law's been looking so worn out? That must have smelled terrible. Garlic isn't that bad unless you cut it open. You know that's not really the point, but that's beside the point. The issue is that she wore that and spent a few days running. I really wish I could have seen that. Do you want to see the pictures? Oh yes, please. Sandy has pictures. What a pro. You guys, what are you so happy about? Show a little more sympathy for me, my mother-in-law started to complain as Sandy and I were laughing and looking at the pictures. I almost forgot she was here. Why do we have to show sympathy for you? Sandy looked up from her phone and glared at our mother-in-law. Why? Because you're my daughter. If you want sympathy from your daughter, why don't you become a person deserving of sympathy? Do you think there's anyone else as sincere as I am? My mother-in-law retorted. Where's the good in someone who dismisses their grandchild's funeral as whatever? Sandy exclaimed, her mouth wide open in anger. When I rushed home for my niece's funeral, I found you just lying at home. When I asked if the funeral was over, you boldly said you didn't go. I thought maybe you were sick, but you were just doing push-ups to show how fit you were. Push-ups? I echoed in disbelief. She wouldn't even go light an incense at the wake. I don't care about my birthday. Screw that, Sandy continued. What are you talking about? It's a parent's duty to celebrate their child's birthday. I've never heard of a grandmother prioritizing her daughter's birthday over her grandchild's funeral. Their shouting match grew so intense that both Sandy and my mother-in-law were panting heavily. That's why I'm saying we need to cleanse this rotten character of yours as if you've been possessed by a demon, and start over, Sandy cried out, tears suddenly rolling down her cheeks. It's pitiful that Hannah had a grandmother like you. Her words stuck in my throat. Sandy loved my daughter too. Even if the time they spent together was short, there was no doubt that Sandy loved her. Holding back the tears that threatened to spill, I stared hard at my mother-in-law. She faltered for a moment under my gaze. Mother-in-law, I said firmly, what did you do for my daughter when she was alive? And I'm not talking about giving her stuff. You didn't even care about her, did you? So what if I didn't? She snapped. There's no way I could have doted on such a frail child just because she's my granddaughter. But my daughter adored you, I said quietly. At my unexpected words, my mother-in-law was at a loss. I told her to wait a moment and went back into the house. From my daughter's room, I took something and returned to my mother-in-law, who was still at the entrance. Then I handed her a letter. What's this? She asked, looking puzzled. It's a letter from my daughter to you. My mother-in-law looked back and forth in surprise between me and the letter. In my hand was a letter certainly addressed to Grandma in my daughter's handwriting. She tentatively opened it and began to read. As she read, her eyes widened, and before we knew it, tears were welling up. No, I didn't do anything for Hannah, she whispered, her voice breaking. I was never kind to her or showed her love. Crying out, my mother-in-law collapsed to the ground on her knees. Picking up the letter that had fallen from her hand, my sister-in-law also read it. Sorry for not being a healthy granddaughter. I'll try to be stronger, so don't hate me. I love you, Grandma. Hannah. Even though she was such an unloving old woman, Hannah was a kind child. Yes, she truly was, I murmured, my sister-in-law nodding with tears streaming down her face. Tears wouldn't stop from my eyes either. I'm sorry for being such a terrible grandmother. I'm sorry. Forgive me, Hannah, my mother-in-law sobbed, bowing deeply on the ground. The three of us cried together for a long time. When my husband came home to find us in tears, he was taken aback. My sister-in-law briefly explained, then took my mother-in-law home. Despite her shaky steps, my mother-in-law clutched Hannah's letter tightly. A few days later, my mother-in-law expressed her wish to pay respects at Hannah's memorial portrait. I firmly declined but told her it would be fine for her to visit the grave after the burial service. Once the mourning period concluded, over the phone she said quietly, I'm sorry. No matter how much she reflects and regrets, I can't forgive her cold attitude toward Hannah while she was alive, and certainly not her behavior on the day of the funeral. I plan to continue being almost entirely estranged from her, and I think my mother-in-law has sensed that. The pushy and slay old woman she once was is nowhere to be seen anymore. My sister-in-law returned overseas, and my husband keeps contact with my mother-in-law to a bare minimum. My mother-in-law now leads a lonely life in her old age, having developed dementia. Luckily, we quickly found a retirement home for her, and now she lives there. Of course, I don't visit her, and my husband only goes when it's necessary. According to him, my mother-in-law keeps murmuring, I'm sorry, Hannah. Even hearing that, I feel nothing. No matter how many years have passed, I can't forgive her, and I don't even want to. But then I think of Hannah, and my gaze falls on a picture of her smiling happily. If it were Hannah, that kind girl, she probably would have forgiven my mother-in-law. No, she probably never even held a grudge in the first place. She was such a kind child. Mom, I love you. I thought I heard her voice and gently wiped my eyes.